Hello, everyone. We're just getting started right now, so just give me a quick second while I let the Twitter and Facebook verse know that we're going live. There we go. I know I should do this before I start broadcasting, but yeah, I always forget to. Hope everybody's having a good week thus far. I know that we were not there last week, and I'm sorry about that, but we had crap come up. So that's why that happened. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, this is kind of my fault this week, but I'm a little backed up here. So for those who are probably wondering, is there even going to be a podcast tonight? Because I didn't put up the usual tweet that I try to do early on. Crap just got busy enough. If people don't already know this, I actually am babysitting up until podcast time. And so my daughter does take up a lot more of my time. So that's why that happens. Not trying to make excuses. I'm just letting you know that's kind of what's going on. It's a priority. Hello. Hello. I hope everybody's week has been good. Hello, Forlorn Hope. There we go. So we actually do have a couple of things to go over. I'm hoping to get Alex here a little bit early and probably even Romney. I'm not sure about Brinton tonight, although it would be really great for us to get him. I reached out, but he has not commented back. But we got lots of stuff to talk about, lots of game announcements that happened over the last 2 weeks. We had the Oscars and the Razzies. We're going to go over those as quickly as we possibly can. We also have some bad news, but I'm trying to keep the bad news as much to a minimum as I can. We also do have the March 8th Nintendo Direct. We were not able to talk about this last week because, well, I was sick, and I think we had a few other people that had other things going on. So we couldn't get an accurate, enough panel for us to be able to do the podcast. But we also have lots of gaming announcements and some silliness, some sadness, some good things to talk about. We will be good to go. And hello, Rising Sun Reviews. Oh, we're just waiting on getting people here. And I actually do have some stories that did not make the list this week. One of which I couldn't justify just because I know that he's a big part of geek culture, but he's mostly part of the scientific community. And that is the passing of that. And also I'm looking for happier stuff because this is kind of the doldrums of the year. People are already kind of depressed. And so that was the passing of Stephen Hawking. And I mean, it's still a loss. I'll admit that I've read some of his findings because I do actually find some of the stuff he does interesting. To say that I had like this big, profound respect for him, I respect him, but I didn't necessarily like go out of my way to read his papers or read his books. Just because science isn't really my thing. I'm the weird kid in the family where science is a thing for my siblings. It's not so much for me. So I do respect the man, and I'm at least happy that he was able to get the geeky cameos that he got. But rest in peace, Stephen Hawking. You were able to do a whole lot of stuff. You were able to do so much as far as accomplishments. There was stuff I even found out on Twitter that he'd done that I didn't even know about. The only thing I'll admit is it was shocking to hear he was 76. For some reason, I thought he was younger than that. I thought he had to be like late 60s, early 70s. I don't know why, but I always felt like he was younger than that. Oh, hello, Romney.
Hello.
Hello. You're just in time to talk about some of the stories that didn't make the agenda tonight. In particular, one, the passing of Stephen Hawking. And two reasons that didn't make the agenda, people, and we actually did have some listeners ask for it. Two reasons. One, really hard to tie to geek content because he's respected in the scientific community, and yes, he's had those cameos here and there, but most of we're not digging out his findings, kind of thing. So it was really difficult to do that. The other thing, like I said, it's the doldrums of the year, like January to March. This is when people get stupidly depressed, and I try very hard not to find bad news stories.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we can say is that it's something that a lot of people have tweeted about is the fact of course, of all the days he would die on Pi Day.
Yes,
and which is also Einstein's birthday.
Oh yeah, weirdly enough. No, and like I was telling the live chat. By the way, welcome live chat. I was shocked to find out he was 76. For some reason, I thought he was younger than that.
Considering how long you lived with ALS, that's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, but for some reason, I thought he was like late 60s, early 70s. I don't know why.
Well,
like I thought he was a good 5-6 years younger than his final age. I was like, 76, really? That's surprising.
Yeah. And again, when I first heard of the news of his death, it didn't really surprise me just because, well, ALS is a hell of a disease. And the fact that he lived as long as he did with that disease, it's remarkable in and of itself.
Plus he was at the... I don't remember how many phases ALS has, but it's like he was at final phase, which is the worst.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if... is ALS painful or is it numbing? I can't remember.
I've heard it's a mix of both.
Yeah, so like I remember hearing like around the time that Stan Lee stopped touring, like you were also hearing that Stephen Hawking was also having a lot of pain issues and things like that. So I found it at least appropriate that like they both kind of stayed at home, and I can't say I blame him, considering Stan is 90s. I'm pretty sure getting out of bed is just like a horrific ordeal for him at this point.
Mm-hmm. And that's
not Stephen Hawking. Yeah, Stephen Hawking just he couldn't have had a good time with what he was dealing with. And I remember reading he was like in final phases, and he'd stayed there for a while in ALS. So I was like,
Yep. And so, yeah, like it's sad, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's sad, but you kind of knew it was going to happen. So you're not really affected by it.
No, not really.
And given how much he accomplished, it's kind of a case of, well, he's led a pretty full life, all things considered.
Well, and like I was telling the chat before you got on, is like, I mean, I've read some stuff from him. I'm the weird guy out in the family where a lot of my family is more left brain and scientifically minded and stuff like that. They'll actually do the homework and probably understand a lot of what he was writing. I read a few pieces because they were at home, but I couldn't say that I was like a diehard fan of him. I've in some cases I actually had difficulty understanding what he was trying to say, and in some cases it was really easy to be able to understand.
Yeah, like the most recent show he did on PBS, where he would get like just average people to do science experiments to explain more difficult concepts. That was actually a pretty good show. It actually gave me ideas on a sci-fi script I was writing before I ran out of steam, realizing I am not good writing sci-fi.
Well, one thing that I liked, I can't remember which premium channel it was. Like there was a weird deal for a while when we got early Comcast, where we had access to the premium channels and we got them for free. We didn't know why, but one of those premium channels had like a kind of like an evening with Kevin Smith, but it was Stephen Hawking. And that was like where I actually got to hear I remember it distinctly. I got to hear the voice of the machine on his wheelchair, and remembering thinking that like, holy crap, this isn't the same as when you see all the cameos. And when he was actually talking, like, can't remember what he was going into. It was like, it wasn't like into theoretical physics like a lot of his stuff goes, but he was going into a lot of astronomy at that point, like just going into researching planets and stuff like that. And I actually remember being kind of enthralled by what he was saying, because I just, even though it's a computered voice talking to you, you can tell he's got the knowledge behind it. So moving on into the next story that unfortunately didn't make the cut, which we just barely found out about, Sonic Mania 2 has been announced. Not Alex actually just barely found this, and I think he's a little irritated that it didn't make the agenda, but if there's more details, then we'll probably put it in next week. But yeah, it's called Sonic Mania Plus. It actually, let me bring up the article here, because it says it's coming with 2 new characters. Yes, so we have 2 brand new characters, Ray the Squirrel and Mighty the Armadillo.
So basically 2 characters that they decided to finally untie and release from the back shed.
Yeah, one of them, yeah, I've seen this one before, and then Ray the Flying Squirrel. Oh man, now I want to make Rocky and Bullwinkle jokes.
Well, yeah, because Ray the Flying Squirrel, he's like old school from the arcade game Sega Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, I'm remembering him now. Wasn't he also in? I know Armadillo was in Sonic Fighters, but I think he was in there too.
Yeah, and Mighty the Armadillo, he was also from Knuckles Chaotix, because he's one of the original members of Chaotix before they added other. Because I know the original team had him, Vector, and Charmy, and then it was later that they added Espio.
Yeah, so Sonic Mania Plus, it actually is going to be getting has announced a physical version of Sonic Mania that will be released later this year, dubbing it Sonic Mania Plus. It will also be something of a micro update, as it will essentially be the same game with the added bonus of two new playable characters. So it looks like it's just an expansion to Sonic Mania. It's not necessarily a brand spanking new game.
Yeah, it looks like they're doing what Arc System Works did with Guilty Gear when they released Revelator and then Revelator 2, where instead of saying, oh, you have to buy a new game, it's like, oh, we already have Revelator, you can buy the extra stuff at a discount.
Yeah, exactly. So that's happening. My thoughts are awesome, because Sonic Mania is awesome, so I have no problem with it. And also, Aldo actually was able to find some mini-sodes that are coming out for it, so you guys can look forward to that as well. But like I said, we do also have a number of stories kind of all around the spectrum. We've got the Razzies and the Oscars, which we need to go into the results for, since that kind of got pushed over to the next week. We also have some stuff to talk about in the Overwatch League. Unfortunately, more trouble that's been happening. I'm hoping that we'll get Brinton tonight, because he's actually actively watching it, and I've already had a Let's Play that hasn't come out yet where he's talked about this situation, and he doesn't like the guy. We also have lots of announcements to go over tonight. We even kind of just pushed a lot of them together, because the gaming industry's had a ton of things to announce in these coming months. We also have the March 8th Nintendo Direct, which, in case you don't know what that is, we are going to be talking about Smash tonight. Smash is going to be happening, and I actually did get some questions about whether or not it is just a re-release of the Wii U version. I was actually asking that myself, and we can confirm that it actually is a legit new game. So you are going to get a brand spanking new game, along with a number of other announcements that came out in that Nintendo Direct.
Yup.
Let's see, other things that we need to get into. I'm just bringing up my list of the stuff that didn't make the list, simply because we had nowhere else to put it into. Deadpool is apparently going under extensive reshoots. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not happy to hear that, but I was already kind of worried about Deadpool 2.
Well, yeah, and just given how much control Ryan Reynolds has over it, there could be a numerous numbers of reasons, and, well, it's nothing new in Hollywood. Reshoots happen. Sometimes they are a bad sign, sometimes they're a good sign. It varies. Pretty much. So the other one that we've got on the list is Jon Favreau is apparently writing a live-action Star Wars series for Disney's streaming service, which I can't remember. Do we actually know what that service is called? I don't think they've announced a name yet.
Yeah, I don't think we know what it's actually called. But yeah, there's already been talk of a live-action Star Wars series, and now they're saying that Jon Favreau, the director of Iron Man, will be writing for it. I don't hate that idea. I don't hate it.
Yeah, again, given what we've heard of Kathleen Kennedy and her clashes with the various creatives, it's very much a case of, okay, it sounds like a good idea. Is he going to be one of the few that gets along with Kathleen Kennedy, or is he going to be one of those that clashes with Kathleen Kennedy?
Wasn't Kathleen helping out with Marvel at some point?
Nope,
Okay.
She's strictly Lucasfilm.
I was gonna say if she'd already been doing that, then maybe she had access to Favreau. But Favreau hasn't been there since what?
Since Iron Man 2, I'd say, like directorially, because he has
phase 1. Yeah,
because he plays a character in Iron Man 3, but he didn't direct it. That was Shane Black. He was actually fired after Iron Man 2 didn't do too well. So, but then again, he probably won favor back with Disney because of the Jungle Book. So it's tough to say. That's probably why they gave it to him, because he did so well with the Jungle Book that they figured, okay, well, we can trust this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak on the Jungle Book because I haven't seen it yet. But Favreau at least did somewhat good with... I like Iron Man. My problem is I like Iron Man. I don't like Iron Man 2. So at that point, it's like, okay, he did kind of good with it. Shane Black kind of did good with Iron Man 3. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what he comes up with, but I'm not going to say that I'm absolutely excited for him.
It really just depends on what aspect of the mythology they're really going to explore with the TV series. I mean, are they gonna tack it on to the new trilogy of films Rian Johnson is going to be creating after Episode 9? Or
I haven't been able to confirm any of that, but it would make sense to do it. Like if you're going to go to another corner of the galaxy, you might as well start establishing lore.
Yeah. It's either you're establishing lore for the new trilogy, or you're trying to fill in the gaps either with the Old Republic or the gap between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, which everyone loves to explore.
Yep. Alex Sama, do you have any passing thoughts for Stephen Hawking?
Truly a brilliant scientist. His presence will definitely be missed. He also had a really good sense of humor, given his many Simpsons cameos over the years. So
I personally love seeing him. He almost became a super villain to Sheldon Cooper in The Big Bang Theory. Because like the problem was like, I don't know. I don't think either of you have seen Big Bang Theory at all, but like there are two mortal enemies that the Sheldon Cooper character has: Will Wheaton and Stephen Hawking. But the best part about Stephen Hawking is that he still has, like, with Will Wheaton, he doesn't really have the hero worship anymore. But with Stephen Hawking, he does. And so, like, it's like this internal struggle with him that, like, he wants to be able to get Stephen Hawking's respect, but then Stephen Hawking is just like, I don't know or care who you are.
Yeah. I know with Will Wheaton, partway through, he did reconcile with Will Wheaton, but then his anger was turned towards Brett Spiner.
Yeah, but then they kind of retconned that a season later, and now he hates Will Wheaton again. So it's just like...
Because all hail the status quo.
Pretty much. Excuse me. The only thing that makes me sad is that they actually had a really good character from, I can't remember her name, but she was one of the daughters on Roseanne. And she actually was also a nemesis character to Sheldon Cooper.
Oh, Sarah Gilbert.
Sarah Gilbert, yeah. She was more of a hip scientist.
Kind of funny. It's kind of funny.
Go ahead.
It's just kind of funny considering that the person who plays Leonard is also an alumni from Roseanne. Yeah,
I forgot about that actually, and somebody had to point that out to me. Like, because you have Sarah Gilbert, you have him, and the aunt from Roseanne, who eventually becomes Sheldon's mom.
Yeah, Laurie Metcalf.
More. Dang it, I can't even remember her last name.
Metcalf.
Yeah,
Metcalf. Yeah.
Yeah. Point being, like, it's weird because they've been playing the Roseanne reruns nonstop, and my mom keeps watching them, and so I keep seeing all these people. I'm just like, I just look at this. I'm just like, okay, who on the show didn't go on to become a major sitcom star in their own right?
Look, I appreciate the success that they've actually gotten out of it, but I'm actually kind of glad I don't watch TV at this point, because if I was, like, say, living with my sister who chronically watched Roseanne, I'd probably have destroyed the TVs by now. I don't like Roseanne. I don't know if I can actually properly explain why I don't like Roseanne. For some reason, it triggers like an inner depression inside of me. And I can't deal with it. Although I did find one thing funny on my Facebook that I can't dig out now. But somebody basically did some Photoshop work and put in Rodan, where Roseanne's supposed to be in the cast photo, and redid the text to say Rodan. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, it definitely would have a better success record than the failed cartoon spinoff of Roseanne that they tried.
That's right. They did that, didn't they?
Yep. It was called Little Rosie. It didn't even get a season.
No, it didn't. And the best part was like somebody was telling me back when Dinosaurs was popular, they were considering getting the same guy who was going to do Little Rosie to do a Dinosaurs animated series spinoff. I was like, well, but Dinosaurs isn't that popular.
But at least Dinosaurs makes more sense as more marketable than Roseanne.
Exactly. Yeah, it actually made a lot more sense, and it probably would have been better on the budget. From what I understand, Dinosaurs was extremely expensive.
Yeah,
just because of all the suits.
Well, yeah, and plus, if you made a cartoon that was a sitcom with dinosaurs, you can sell a whole bunch of toys. I mean, dinosaurs were big in the 90s. I mean, Power Rangers, Jurassic Park. It's very much, if there was ever something that would be more marketable, it would be a cartoon spinoff of dinosaurs than a cartoon spinoff of Roseanne.
I mean, for crying out loud, like the baby alone got like his own CD. So
yes, that song.
I didn't even know, like I knew that song existed. Apparently there's a CD with like 5 other tracks of this annoying baby singing. And one of them is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And I'm just like, I do not want to hear this voice sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Well, it could be worse. It could be much worse, but I just look at that, I'm just like, well, given that they tried making a Wookiee Christmas album, anything is possible.
Yeah, that's true. That
oddly enough, that was the start of John Bon Jovi's career. Like, I kid you not, it was literally on We Wish You a Merry Christmas R2-D2. It was a very young, unknown John Bon Jovi who did the vocals for it.
I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, he was literally just sweeping. He was just the guy who would sweep the studio. They're just like, oh, hey, we can't get anyone to famous sing on this. Hey, John, you know how to sing. Why don't you sing the vocals on this? And that's what started his career.
See, that right off the top of my head, that just reminds me of Chris Metzen from Blizzard, because that's what he was too. He got brought on as a janitor at Silicon and Synapse, and then eventually became their lead lore guy, and then retired. So, all right, let's go ahead and get this show on the road. I don't know if we're gonna get Brinton tonight. I was hoping to get him for the Overwatch stuff, but we'll trudge on as we go, and hopefully he gets here. But let me know when you guys are ready.
Sound speed.
3, 2, 1. Somebody actually did suggest like we ought to do like one episode for YouTube only, where it's just you, like all of us BSing for 2 hours. Maybe. Let me know that you guys want it in the Discord and all that. Welcome, everybody, to another awesome episode of Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions, the podcast where we talk about the week's events in Geek for Friday night, March 16th, 2018. I am your host, Adam Mickelson. I hope everybody's had an awesome week so far. I know that it's been a couple of weeks since we've actually been here. Our apologies. We had a couple of things going on last week, including me being sick as hell, and I think one of you guys had something else going on too. So we weren't able to make things work. But we're back. We're ready to go. We've got 2 weeks worth of stories to be able to go over. We're going to go over as much of it as we possibly can. And of course, I'm being joined by my panel of fellow geeks, fellow awesome guys, fellow YouTubers, fellow commentators, fellow reviewers, and fellow geeks in general. And let's go ahead and start things off with Stephen Romney of Studio Ghost, Utah, of From the Shelf, Monster Clash, Rhapsody in Cinema, and whatever else. Oh, yes, and also Marshall March, whatever else he just decides to start filming for the heck of it. Romney, how you doing?
Well, doing pretty good. This week's had its fair shares of ups and downs. I mean, a lot of it comes from the fact that I was now adjusting to a work schedule that, although I have more free time in the afternoons, it means I have to get up before dawn. And it just so happens to switch to that new schedule right after daylight savings has begun. So,
oh, geez. So you basically had to take an hour and then get up early. How early are we talking?
I have to get up at 5:30 because I start work at 7 o'clock, but it means I get up at 3:30 and have more time to actually work on the stuff I want to work on.
Which is good. Like I actually remember having a job where I got up like it was 7 to 3, and I remember liking it, but the only thing I didn't like was like it was school on steroids, roughly, because you had to get up so early.
Yeah, at the very least. At the very least, though, one benefit of waking up early, traffic moves so smoothly. It's like weird where it's just like, okay, I'm up early. It's like, oh yeah, because most of the people are still asleep, I can actually get to work on time.
Yeah, you're really missing that window because like around 8:39 is when it starts to pack up. So you're actually getting to a point where that's not too much of a difficulty for you.
Well, yeah. And in my area where I live, or it's around 7 or so is when it starts getting crazy, like where it gets to be stop and go traffic coming all the way up. And so that's one benefit. Still taking some getting used to, but at the very least, it means I have more time in the afternoon to actually work on stuff, which is what allowed me to get some of those Martial March videos up, except for the ones for the next few days, because it's a lot harder to capture from Blu-ray than DVD.
Pretty much. And then also we are being joined by Alex the Shadow Blazer, who has decided to join us out of the wonderful embrace of his Black Rose poster and all of the anime that he needs to catch up on, at least the way that he makes it sound on Twitter. He's like months behind in projects. Alex, how you doing?
Well, unfortunately, I kind of hurt my foot today. Smacked it into something, and it still hurts, and it kind of hurts to walk on. So, other than that, I guess I'm doing fine. Just busy work week. Probably like one of the first full work weeks I've had in quite a few months, because retail always goes into complete slowdown mode in late February and early March.
Yeah, pretty much. Because it's pretty much like the doldrums for, I want to say, like every industry. I can't even think of an industry that thrives around this time, because everybody's just kind of burned out from the holidays and all that fun stuff. But
Tax people.
This is true. The IRS probably thrive around this time.
Not even just IRS, just people who file taxes for other people. So the H&R blocks, the turbo taxes.
Yep, all the accountants.
That's right, because this is around the time when we get the wall of turbo taxes in every retail store.
Yep.
And of course, we're also being joined by our live chat. It's good to see you guys. And it's actually going to be both on YouTube as well as our Discord server, in case you guys don't know that we have one. But let's go ahead and get started with the events of the last 2 weeks. We're going to try and mix them all together. Alex, you're raising your hand. What the heck is that about? I don't know.
I wasn't raising my hand. I'm just typing.
Oh, okay. I was like, you're raising your hand. We have a question already with how this thing goes. You've been doing it for like 4 or 5 years. So we actually have lots to go over, and we're going to try and get through as much of it as we possibly can. But the last 2 weeks have had plenty to go over and talk about. And the first thing that we're going to start off with is a couple of announcements that happened most recently, and not a whole lot of information is known for them at the given moment. First of all, we have a big announcement from Square Enix, which is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. The third rebooted Tomb Raider title has been announced. We got a teaser trailer a few days ago, which doesn't really show too much of anything aside from the usual, excuse me, aside from the usual, like, this is a landscape you might actually deal with. This is a level you might go to, and leaving it at that, but also teasing a full reveal happening on April 27th, appropriately the same day as Infinity War. I wonder how many diehard Tomb Raider fans are just going to rig it so that they're going to go see Infinity War like later so they can see this full reveal. And also, we got the release date for it, which is going to be September 14th, 2018. So the next in the Tomb Raider saga will be coming out this September. I'm just curious, have either of you been able to see the teaser trailer? And if so, like, what are your thoughts on it?
I haven't seen the teaser trailer. I just knew that it's a thing of Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I'm not as big of a Tomb Raider fan. I just know that it exists.
I will admit that, unfortunately, I know our buddy Brinton, who isn't here. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it tonight, but I know that he was absolutely ecstatic. So much so that he was telling people on Facebook that his neighbors probably thought he was dying. He was screaming so loud when he saw the teaser trailer. But I remember also he was kind of disappointed in me because I saw the teaser trailer a little after him, and I was just like, it's a teaser trailer. It's like, I can't say that this is getting me excited for it. It's not really telling me anything I want to know. I'm excited for the full reveal in April, but he's like, no, you have to be excited now. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm old. I've seen lots of these teaser trailers. I know what they like to tease. So that was kind of my viewpoint on it. Alex, you're kind of getting into the Tomb Raider games. And in fact, we're actually getting ready to go and watch the new Tomb Raider movie. I'm not as excited about that now that the reviews are out. But what's your take on Shadow of the Tomb Raider?
Unfortunately, I haven't watched the trailer at all either, because again, I'm still very new to the world of Tomb Raider. It's just more like, okay, well, when it really comes, when the big reveals, when the official game is out, it's probably more when I'm going to be able to see anything out of it. Like, trailers, especially game teasers, just, I don't really pay a lot of mind to game teasers.
All right. So that's pretty much the coverage there. I mean, I'm excited, but I'll be more excited when we get to the full reveal on April 27th to see what they actually have to announce, if I'm not going to be bogged down with having to literally turn off the internet so I don't get Infinity War spoiled for me. Because that's going to be a big deal for the podcast as well as for me. So the next story that we actually need to go into is something that that Romney should be excited about, because you've been looking into the news for all things Soul Calibur 6. And Soul Calibur 6 just announced their, what I like to call the celebrity candidate, or the celebrity fighter that they bring in. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, ever since Soul Calibur 2, in Soul Calibur 2 is kind of a unique reference there, is that they try to bring in unique new characters, either symbolizing the consoles or symbolizing modern day gaming. So for example, Soul Calibur 2 had 3 unique ones, because on GameCube, when it came out on GameCube, it had Link. PlayStation, it had Heihachi from Tekken, and Xbox, it had Spawn. Then we go to, did 3 have a celebrity one?
I don't think actually, they were planning on it, but they couldn't make it work, because it was initially supposed to have Dante, but the closest they could get was that they basically allowed you to create Dante in the create a character menu. It was also supposed to have Cosmos, but same problem happened. For those who don't know.
That's right. It was supposed to have Cosmos.
And then the PSP version, Broken Destiny, has Kratos, and then Soul Calibur 4 had, of course, Yoda and Darth Vader, depending on whether you got the 360 or the PS3 version.
5 had Ezio, didn't it?
Yeah, 5 had Ezio Auditore from Assassin's Creed, and for Soul Calibur 6, what we got announced, and I'm particularly excited because I like the character, should I say it or should you say it?
I'm going to let you do it, because you're the Soul Calibur fan, and even though we are familiar with this one, and I know that our buddy Aldo Gomez is also excited about this announcement, go ahead and reveal who it is.
Well, basically, the character that is the guest character for Soul Calibur 6 is one Geralt of Rivia. So, a lot of you people who played Witcher, most likely Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, will recognize him as the main character of the Witcher games and the Witcher novels. And so he is the guest character. The trailer they released was I laughed because it very much was in character for Geralt. So, that is the guest character for Soul Calibur 6, is Geralt of Rivia.
I don't know too much about Geralt. I haven't really played the Witcher games. I've dabbled, but I could at least tell that in the trailer that's how Geralt would act. I've seen enough cutscenes with him to know that that's his behavior. The thing that threw me off, and I don't know if you actually had this problem when you looked up the announcement. Some people were confused. I guess they kind of hinted that they were going to do console specific ones, and Geralt was the Xbox one. And they eventually clarified it from what I understand. And no, he is the multi-platform character. So at that point, it's just going to be Geralt. But a lot of people were like speculating, oh my gosh, does that mean we're going to get, and I saw speculation from Aloy of Horizon Zero Dawn. I even saw like a supposed Switch announcement for Breath of the Wild Link to be the character. And guys, as much as that would be awesome, you don't realize how hard that is to program.
Yeah. Plus, firstly, Soul Calibur 6 hasn't even been announced for the Switch. So far, we only know that it's coming for Xbox One, PS4, and PC.
I think they've even clarified that, too. I think they actually said that the engine might be too complex for the Switch. Yeah. So, at that point, if they bring it in, they'll have to simplify it, and that'll take time.
Yeah. And so, with Soul Calibur, and plus, with 5, they didn't do console-exclusive guest characters, well, because of a lot of things, so that's why we got Ezio across the board, which is also why they would choose someone like Geralt of Rivia, whose games have been on basically every console, including PC. Yeah. And so, honestly, it's a good choice, given how much praise Witcher 3 Wild Hunt has been given. it is very much a case of, okay, this is a character very reflective of the current game climate, so we'll bring this character in that everyone recognizes, and it makes a hell of a lot more sense than some of the guest characters they've had in the past, like, well, Yoda and Darth Vader. But even then, Yoda and Darth Vader were fun to play.
Yoda, Darth Vader, and Starkiller. We forgot about him. Starkiller got in there too. You just had to unlock him.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm definitely excited. I've been excited because they've straight up said that Soul Calibur 6 is more or less meant to be a reboot so that we can hopefully finally wash the bad taste that is Soul Calibur 5 out of our mouths.
Actually, clarify something for me. Somebody was actually saying this is the first PC entry of Soul Calibur. I could have sworn 5 was PC.
I'm not sure, at least not initially. This may be the first time that it's launching on PC around the same time, because I know with the other Soul Calibur games, they usually were console first and then ported later. At least I know that was the case with, pretty much. I think that was the case with 4 and 5, is that they were console first, PC later, and then later down the line, they did the HD version of 2 and the re-release of Soul Calibur 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those weird deals where I know that Soul Calibur's got this weird relationship when it comes to Namco, because in some cases they love doing it. They treat it as their beloved franchise. But then you have instances of like Soul Calibur 3 where it never hit any other console because they literally looked at GameCube and Xbox and said, oh, these aren't successful, so this is going to be PS2 exclusive. And then we have weird decisions going in with celebrity choices, because I know there was actually apparently some argument as to whether or not Ezio should have gone into 5. Instead of going with, say, Kratos, since he was popular from the PSP version, and a bunch of stuff there. But thankfully, we've at least got some solid announcements here to work with. And if this is the first PC entry, that's kind of cool as far as I'm concerned.
Well, yeah, it especially comes a long way, because I was actually researching the whole thing with cameos. The whole reason Heihachi was in the PS2 version is that Heihachi was the backup. You want to know who they initially wanted for the PS2 version? They were trying to get Cloud. But they couldn't find a way to make Cloud work in the Soul Calibur.
I remember hearing about this. They wanted to. They for some reason wanted to. It was either borrow or research the Air Guys model, and they wanted to update it to bring it into Soul Calibur, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, they couldn't come to an agreement with Square to make the model work. And this was before Advent Children, so Cloud didn't even have a voice yet, and so that would have thrown things for a bit of a loop. And so Heihachi was the backup. And we got Spawn because Todd McFarlane designed Necrid, who was the console exclusive, not in the arcade version character for the console versions. And I'm excited because I like the way the game is looking. I'm excited that we're getting a character like Geralt, because it's just going to be fun seeing him playing off some of these other characters.
Well, and in some cases, this is kind of my complaint with Soul Calibur, where it's hard to get some of these guys into this universe to fit. And Geralt is a good fit. Geralt makes sense. Like, given what I know of him, and given and especially like the trailer itself kind of shows off some of his combat, doesn't it? Which looked beautiful as far as I'm concerned. Very beautiful flowing gameplay from him. But then you've also had like these weird picks of, I still have never been behind Yoda and Darth Vader being a part of it. I wasn't behind Heihachi, but from what you've told me about Cloud, it kind of makes sense why they wanted to do that.
Well, yeah, but even Heihachi still makes more sense than Yoda and Darth Vader, because again, Yoshimitsu is kind of the connecting line, so it does imply that Tekken and Soul Calibur exist in the same universe. It's just a case Heihachi finds a piece of Soul Edge, accidentally cuts his finger, and is flung back in time.
Yeah, and for me, like, Ezio wasn't a bad idea. I felt like he was a good pick.
Yeah, because he is of the time period that the games take place in, so him being in Soul Calibur makes sense. And again, like, so many of these other characters they've had make more sense than Yoda and Darth Vader and Starkiller.
They really do. I don't know what they were smoking when they did that, aside from we want to be on the Star Wars bandwagon.
It was a mutual thing. They wanted characters that would get people to buy the games, and the people making the Force Unleashed wanted to promote their game. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement, which is why Starkiller was included as a way to promote the upcoming game. It's kind of the same reason why Noctis is in Tekken 7, which again would have made more sense if you added him in Soul Calibur, but I guess since it wasn't ready yet, he's in Tekken.
Yeah, Noctis would have been a good choice, but I'm actually going to say, at least for Soul Calibur 6, Geralt is the perfect choice, because at this point he is as popular as, say, Ezio was when when I was about to say Assassin's Creed 5, when Soul Calibur 5 was out, this makes a lot of sense to put in Geralt.
So I'm excited.
Very good pick from Namco. Final thoughts before we move on. I don't think, Alex, you're going to have too many things to say about Soul Calibur.
Not really. I don't even know if I've played any Soul Caliburs ever. So
yes, you have.
I have.
I had Soul Calibur 2 on the GameCube for a while.
Okay, so
you played that because Link's in it. So
okay. So yeah, but as somebody's besides that, I've never really gotten into Soul Calibur. Maybe I'll look into the new one.
And I'll admit, like, I'm not the biggest Soul Calibur fan, just because 3D fighters I have this love-hate relationship with, but I do at least play it to see if if it measures up as a good successor to the previous game.
Yeah, and plus Soul Calibur 6 is a good jumping on point since it is a reboot of the franchise, meaning you don't have to do any research into the canon that more or less got bent over the table by Soul Calibur 5. You're coming in at a good point, Alex.
I find this funny. Like every fighting game franchise is rebooting around this time because Street Fighter, I want to say 5 is kind of a reboot. As far as story goes, you have Mortal Kombat 9, Mortal Kombat X trying to retell that lore. Soul Calibur is rebooting. Dragon Ball Fighters was brand spanking new. I've even heard talk of bringing back some old fighting games to reestablish their canon, and of course Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. So there's a lot there.
Well, I mean, especially they'll want to retool Marvel vs. Capcom now that Disney owns Fox. It can use X-Men and characters again.
Oh, they need to retool it for more reasons than that.
Yeah, and as for Soul Calibur, the main difference here, unlike, well, let's just say we're entering an era where Namco has kind of learned its lesson with Tekken 5 and Soul Calibur 5. I don't know what it is about the fifth games in these franchises that they screwed up on. But Namco has learned their lessons, and they're thinking, hey, Tekken 7 was popular. We actually gave a crap and put in a genuine effort for Tekken 7. Let's maybe do that with Soul Calibur 6 and see if we can win the fan base back.
Wow, actually giving a crap and putting in your best effort, and it rewards you? Oh, I wished I would have thought about this sooner. I'm kidding, but yeah, there we go. So let's go ahead and move on into the next story, which is a little bit more frustrating because we covered this before. This is a little bit of an update. If people remember a couple of weeks ago, I want to say about a month or so ago, when we covered the whole XQC situation that happened with the Overwatch League. And for those who don't know what this is, let me just bring you quickly up to speed. XQC is a player on the Dallas Fuel, which is the Dallas Overwatch team. And he was, I want to say, fined by the Overwatch League about a month ago for using inappropriate slurs, specifically homophobic slurs. And he got fined for it. And we all thought he learned his lesson. Turns out he didn't, because now he's received additional fines. And his team, or his team management, has basically suspended him for the first rounds of the games. So it's very clear he hasn't learned anything. He's received a 4-game suspension and a $2,000 fine. And so, yeah, for 4 games, he is not going to be playing anything. And all he did was, unfortunately, make homophobic comments about his opponents, the Houston Outlaws. Because, of course, that's never going to go well. It doesn't matter that you were doing it to your opponent. Nobody's going to take that well, especially in this day and age. I don't even think. I want to say, like, some athletes out there, like not Kobe Bryant, but like LeBron, have done this once or twice, and they've learned you can't do this crap on Twitter. And this guy has that issue, and he just hasn't learned. The first time he got the fine, now he's getting a stiffer fine and a stiffer penalty. And hey, if that's the rules of the league, that's the rules of the league. So at that point, especially if you didn't learn your lesson after the first incident, then yeah, the punishment does kind of fit the crime here. In particular, people wanted to know our opinions on, like, overall do we think that this is too stiff a punishment for him to get first of all, he got a fine from the Overwatch League, and then his team suspended him from the first round of the games. So do we think that's too stiff a punishment for him? Me personally, I don't. And it's just simply because he already got that initial fine. He knew that he shouldn't have been doing this stuff. So the fact that he was doing it some more just tells me he hasn't learned his lesson. And so, yeah, a stiffer punishment needs to be put in place. And that's what the team has decided to do. So sucks to be you. That's basically my point of view on it. What about you, Romney? Where are you standing with it?
Honestly, I don't know too much about the players specifically. I'm just more concerned with how Blizzard is extending their monitoring to outside of the game itself and trying to basically monitor and police.
Concerning, yes.
Yeah, it's trying to monitor things that people do that aren't in the game itself. I mean, I understand you're trying to basically create a positive public relations image, but
yeah.
I don't know. Something about, I mean, if it's conduct in-game, that is at least fine to police, because again, you have to agree to the terms of service to play any Blizzard game. And so if it's something they're doing while they're playing the game during a stream that is actually as they're playing, I can understand them policing it. But trying to extend that to social media and beyond that, I think Blizzard's kind of taking things a little bit too far. And honestly, I can understand why the teams themselves may have dropped these players, but that's what concerns me most of all, is the fact that Blizzard and Twitch are kind of trying to they're basically trying to reach beyond what they can actually conceively enforce.
That's really my only beef with this, is that a lot of these incidents have been happening outside of the arena. And really, if you're going to enforce the rules of the league, it needs to be within the arena. That's the way I actually look at it. The only sad part of this is that where I could cite examples of, say, like the NFL or the NBA not doing this, the sad reality is they're doing it too.
Yeah, the difference. But the difference, though, is that the NFL, although you have the different player team franchises, the NFL as a whole pretty much owns football. They own the players. And so that's different. That is basically a league. So it's not one company. It's not like Spalding is in control of all of the entirety of football. This is the league itself. Yeah. Whereas here, this is basically the enforcement of one company, of one specific party. And that's why it's a bit concerning, because when the NFL has those rules and regulations, they still leave the enforcement at the discretion of the people who manage the specific teams, unless it's gotten so bad that the league itself has to find the team. But here, and that's the concerning thing, is that this is strictly Blizzard. Yes, Twitch is involved, but it's mostly Blizzard that is pushing for these enforcements. And that, I see it as going a little bit too far.
And even then, I don't even know if it's entirely all of Blizzard. I know Kaplan's behind a lot of the decisions when it comes to Overwatch, and Kaplan does have the outstanding record standing behind him. But yeah, the sad thing about this is that I'm kind of reiterating my point. If this is happening in the arena, then yes, it's finable, and it's definitely something you shouldn't be doing because you have cameras around and all that stuff. But when you do stuff like this, it kind of basically makes at least me think from a perspective of you are watching every stinking thing that these people are doing, including you're watching them go to the bathroom. And if they so much as don't fart in line, you're going to find them. You're going to come down on them. And that's frankly how it shouldn't work, because the bottom line is that, look, as much as we all don't want to admit this, we all have our darker side. Okay. We all have that side that we don't want to show the public. We have a private self that, we go off and do our own thing, and we do it in our own way. And that's not a bad thing. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where, he's doing it on Twitter and it's a public space, and therefore it's just a subject, but you need to be able to unwind in some way. And so at that point, if you're going to watch this Twitter, if you're going to watch his Twitch, if you're going to watch all of this stuff, where is he eventually going to go to get this stuff out? That's kind of my concern here. Where is this eventually going to go? It's not going to go anywhere good, because all you're doing is you're setting yourself up for a massive failure. So much so that my example to you would be WWE. I know I bring up wrestling a lot, but wrestling does this too. And we've actually had some implosions in WWE that have been caused by crap like this. And so a perfect example that I will give to you guys is the incidents involving CM Punk and him being he was like the most popular guy on Twitter for a while there on WWE. And then all of a sudden, when he tried to be his character on social media, he got punished for it, but they still wanted him to be his character off the camera and everywhere else except on Twitter.
Yeah, it's a new age. No sense there. Yeah, it's a new age we're entering, and it's very much one of those cases of, yeah, it's like how far is too far? And to me, I can see what they're trying to do, but honestly, policing player behavior off of the site and off of the...
This is just getting really close to like the same problem I have with YouTube. This is getting dangerously close to thought police, people.
It's the exact stuff that George Orwell has warned us about. A lot of people misinterpret what 1984 is about. They think it's about communism or socialism or about totalitarian regimes, but it isn't. It's about, like you said, thought policing. Many people see it as a good thing until they realize too much of their freedoms have been stripped away. It's very much one of those before people. This is exactly what Orwell was warning us about. Is this idea of thought policing and controlling people's behaviors when they are basically doing things on their own time, and that's the scary thing here.
Yeah, and that's what I don't like about it. You know, one of the biggest themes that you guys are going to have been seeing on my YouTube channel and probably for the last couple of months is just getting that kind of crap out of fandom. Because I'm starting to see that more and more and more. This particular kind of thought policing entering into various kinds of fandoms. And if you don't have the specific line of thoughts, then you're the worst kind of fan imaginable and they want to get you out. That's the dumbest thing ever, because all you're doing when going to a fandom is all appreciating your love of Star Trek, your love of anime, your love of card games, whatever it might be. And now I'm hearing about, you know, Overwatch League is starting to do this stuff. I've even heard that it's probably going to start getting distributed to, because they're getting ready to do Hearthstone tournaments kind of the same way. Start doing it that way too. Magic the Gathering now is, we just barely got this story. Apparently they've got job openings for people to watch social media 24/7 and be a watchdog. And the second that you step one toe out of line to basically bring the banhammer down on you, guys, if you keep on doing that stuff, all you're going to do, you're basically going to create this powder keg. And that crap has to get out. Okay. As much as like we all could think that the kill your boss scenario, like we all laugh at that. We would never do that. Sometimes people need to do that to relieve stress.
Yeah.
Okay? And when you take that away, all you're doing is taking that powder keg and making it start to shake just a little bit, and then pop.
Yeah. And looking at it from a financial perspective, just looking at if this is how Blizzard wants to conduct itself, it makes me very, very even less likely to buy any Blizzard product, because it's the case of I don't want to buy a game from Blizzard if it means I'm going to be put under constant surveillance.
Okay, Aldo, I can feel you out in the ether. I get it, because I know where the money's coming from to do this. I know it's not just modifying the servers anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so that's the other thing that I think these companies need to consider, both Blizzard and even companies like Wizards of the Coast, is that if you go create this oppressive image of, oh, hey, getting involved with anything these companies put out is going to basically mean that you have to watch everything you say, people are probably it's going to scare people off. I mean, people will get scared off from Hearthstone, people will get scared off from Magic more so than they are already. And so that's the other thing they need to consider, is that it makes it look a lot less inviting.
Well, and the irony of it is that basically you create the toxic community you're striving to prevent. You are eventually just going to have just as toxic a community as, say, League of Legends. I mean, I'm already hearing that Magic the Gathering is that at this point. It's a very toxic community.
Yeah, to quote the Star Wars prequels, you become the very thing you swore to destroy. Exactly.
So, Alex, we've been kind of talking over you. What's your take on Blizzard being more thought police, but in particular the situation with XQC? Do you think the punishment is too stiff?
I mean, for Blizzard to apply this, at first I thought this was like a league punishment doled out by an official league, but considering you guys have put it into perspective, this is Blizzard.
But Twitch and Blizzard are running it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I get it, considering esports are kind of becoming big business right now. They want to protect themselves. They don't want to have the PR shitstorms. They don't need the hashtag Twitter mob wars that go on so often. But I have to agree. I feel like Blizzard is starting to overextend themselves and starting to get a little too fretful and worried about every single facet of what people say and do in their private lives. It's one thing when you are an official employee of the company, or when you are trying to, say, represent said company in an official capacity in some kind, like, in the middle of an esports tournament. But somebody on their own time, in their own Twitter, it's like, that's the point. You just got to say, look, that's the time you just got to put up that legalese disclaimer that you always see at the front of like DVDs and Blu-rays. It's like, the views and opinions expressed are solely of the individuals and not of the company as a whole. That's it. That's all you got to do. Throw up that legalese and you're clear.
Well, and in particular, just think about it from this perspective, Alex. If you had somebody like watching yourself, like watching you 24 hours a day, and like the second you stick one toe out of line, like what else can you do with it? You like I even think for you as soft spoken as you kind of are, you'd eventually blow a gasket. You'd start screaming bloody murder because there's just no way for you to get that crap out.
Yeah. Every so often I let something go that's probably not exactly the most friendly out there, the most PC, but it happens. We all have those moments, and I always try to be very, very careful when on my social media presence that I don't talk about much about where I work. I don't try to mention names of where I work. I just try to be very neutral as possible, but every so often I even on the show, I kind of talk a little bit of what working life is like right now, but I'm always very careful about it. And that's just, so it's the responsibility of you to be careful, but it's also not the responsibility of the company to enforce how I feel about one particular topic. It's my own business.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I like to quote because I think I'm kind of the active watcher of Anime Abandoned, and I think Mark the Engineer hit the nail on the head in the Violence Jack review, which is you cannot go throughout this life without offending someone. That's just the bottom line, and I'm sorry, but occasionally all of us need to have that moment where we're just being plain douchebags. I'm not saying that we're going out and being trolls, but occasionally we've had a bad enough day and you have to have that moment where it's like, ah! And you need to get that out. Otherwise, if you keep it in there, that doesn't do anything good for you. Speaking from personal experience, that rots and festers inside your body, and then eventually it becomes something far, far worse. And if you continue to police this culture, I hate to be this guy because I don't like to use these kinds of references, but you're going to create the school shooters of tomorrow, roughly, because nobody will have an outlet for anything. And that's what we're trying to avoid here on the podcast. Give you guys an outlet for you to be able to be yourselves.
Yep.
Because heaven knows I do that enough already.
Yeah, for all he knows what may end up happening, this is just me spitballing just as it occurred to me just now. It may just end up creating a market for like unofficial leagues that, I mean, granted, Blizzard would shut this sort of thing down, but for all we know, we may see another publisher just think, hey, you don't want to be playing a game that leaves you under the yoke of Blizzard? Come over to us. We'll basically be the Postal of the gaming industry.
We have a lot of people that try to do that. And the funniest thing about that is as long as you don't advertise yourself as the WoW, Hearthstone, Overwatch killer, you're fine. That's the way it works. That's the funniest thing about it is like the ones that advertise themselves as the Hearthstone killer, they don't last very long. But when they don't advertise themselves as such, people go and try their game and go, oh, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at what happened with Haze, they tried marketing it as the Halo killer, and, well, it didn't work, and now Free Radical doesn't exist.
Yeah, pretty much. Or the other example that I like to give of people trying to advertise themselves as the WoW killer, Mythic Entertainment no longer exists because they tried to make Warhammer Online the WoW killer. Didn't work out. Funniest thing, the only MMO that has been able to survive, I'm not saying it competes, but survive, is the one that didn't market itself as the WoW killer. That would be Star Wars: The Old Republic. So, yeah. As long as you don't market yourself as the killer, you're fine.
Well, yeah, I think the closest like that, aside from Star Wars, I think Guild Wars kind of has like a steady foothold as well.
So we just barely had this in the live chat. Every once in a while, Alex flips a table. He has been known to do that. I can't attest that.
Yes.
All right, fine. I think that's pretty much our final thoughts here. So let's go ahead and move on into the next story, which is a little bit complex. We're going to be covering the March 8th Nintendo Direct. So this happened last week, and we were not able to broadcast last week. So I'm just going to go ahead and go over what was announced first, and then we'll go over what we liked and what we didn't like, kind of like we did last time. So first of all, the biggest thing, in case you guys missed it, Super Smash Bros. For Switch was announced. We know of at least 4 characters. We have 2 Inklings, because supposedly they're separate characters. We have what looks like Breath of the Wild Link, and we have what looks like Mario Odyssey Mario. So you have those at the very least, and we know that this is legit for the Switch. Like me, and I know a couple of listeners also had the same question. Since it was bundled right next to a bunch of Wii U remasters, everybody thought it was just the Wii U version being remastered for Switch. We can confirm it's got its own site. It's for Switch. Captain Toad is going to be coming to Nintendo Switch as well as Nintendo 3DS. I'm actually very happy about that one because I haven't played that game yet. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy will be coming out for Switch. That was a shock for a lot of people. Dark Souls. What was that?
It's incredibly ironic, just all things considered.
Yeah, I laughed the second I heard that was happening. I'm just like, wow, the PlayStation mascot's going to Nintendo. Yes, I know it's been multi-platform for years, guys, but it's hard for me not to look at Crash Bandicoot and go, PlayStation mascot. With the Dark Souls remastering that's going to be coming out, they have announced a Dark Souls Praise the Sun amiibo that you will be able to get. Let's see, the lone figure. I don't think they actually. No, I was looking for the detail. Yeah, more details coming soon. So we don't know necessarily the bonus stuff that's coming with this amiibo.
Yeah,
what will be harder? What's going to be harder? Dark Souls or getting the Dark Souls amiibo?
This is true. Actually, you want to know what you want to know what should happen here? It's Dark Souls. You put that thing on, and the bonus is it kills you.
Yeah. Or just maybe when in order to get it, you don't even get to go to a store. You have to actually beat a boss IRL in order to get the amiibo.
There you go. Your GameStop employee becomes a boss.
I mean, I've heard, especially when you've heard about people like Invisible Nunchuck Guy, it's kind of a case of, yeah, I mean, GameStop employees are known for doing stuff like that. I'm sure many of them would enjoy it.
Another one that just got brought up from a friend of mine is basically it puts a kick me sign on the back of your character, and every PvP, since it looks like the PvP aspect is going to translate over to Switch, every PvP player out there is actually immediately affixed to your realm so that they can come and kick the crap out of you. So it's basically the kick me sign of doom.
Yeah, or if it's the kick me sign of doom, it makes all PvP matches one-hit kills.
There you go. That would actually be appropriate. We also have South Park, The Fractured Butthole is going to be coming over to Nintendo Switch. And I have a feeling that if it hasn't been announced by now, Stick of Truth will also be coming.
I just get the feeling we're going to be getting a bunch of stuff replaced with either crying koalas, except it's going to be crying toads.
I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, really? South Park is making it to Switch? Nintendo did not play the tyrant on this one? Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition is coming out May 18th for the Switch, so you guys can get it then. We also got a release date for Mario Tennis Aces. Let's see. And unfortunately, the article that I have does not have the release date. Little Nightmares is going to be coming to Switch. We also have new detail for No More Heroes Travis Strikes Again, which isn't too much to work with. Splatoon 2 is going to be getting single-player DLC. Okami HD is coming to the Switch. This is another one that I kind of expected was going to happen. Undertale is coming to Switch. Luigi's Mansion is getting a remake for the 3DS. Octopath Traveler, yay, has a release date of July 13th, 2018, and you can actually get a really cool collector's edition, which gives you a pop-up storybook based on Octopath Traveler. Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story is going to be coming out re-released for 3DS. And also, biggest WarioWare game ever was announced. And then the stuff that we didn't see at the Nintendo Direct, but was also announced, and I think I even told Alex about this. So Phantasy Star Online 2 is looking to come out for Switch Japan only.
Japan. Yeah.
And it actually is going to get unique Breath of the Wild items for it. So in commemoration of that happening. But as soon as I announced that I knew that it was going to be for Japan. And so as soon as I told Alex, yeah, Phantasy Star Online is coming out on Switch, it's probably going to be Japanese only. And then I confirmed it. And then also Saga Scarlet Grace is going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch in Japan, as well as a new Taiko Drum Master game will also be released for Switch in Japan. And that's pretty much all the announcements from the Nintendo Direct. So since I've been talking an endless storm here, favorite announcements from you guys. What were you excited for?
Well, again, I'm still skeptical, disgruntled Wii U owner here, so there's still not much here for me to actually contemplate buying a Switch yet. I mean, out of the things I see, I mean, I am interested in the Luigi's Mansion remake that's coming to the 3DS because I didn't get to play the original GameCube one, and it's actually hard to track down. So, hey, that means I'll actually get the chance to actually enjoy it. And as for the things announced for the Switch, maybe I'll wait until we get some more details about what's going to be in Smash for the Switch to see if maybe there are any characters that may actually make me want to buy the game. Again, I'm still on the fence because, again, disgruntled Wii U owner, so not really sold yet.
You know what? And I'm actually on the side of the people who actually came out to me, and I also had this question. I was like, you put this aside a bunch of Wii U remasters, because I also know the Tropical Freeze was brought up there too. You put that in the middle of all the remasters. You didn't expect us to all think that, oh, yeah, this is just the Wii U remastering of Smash, and the models, I mean, aside from Link being Breath of the Wild, Mario looked the same, and the Inklings looked like they would work on Wii U. So can you blame us for actually thinking that?
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, they could have been pulling a Capcom with basically what Capcom did with Street Fighter 2, where they have the bajillion ports. It could be because of, okay, they probably think they have a competent enough engine that rather than build it from the ground up, they'll just port it and just update it every so often, which for all we know, that's what they're doing. They're just going to maybe have some new exclusives to get people to buy the hardware.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'm excited for Smash, but frankly, 4 characters is not enough to get me excited. And frankly, I've had arguments with people already on this, but it's like, oh my gosh, we got Mario and Link. You know we were going to get Mario and Link, people. They were coming.
Yeah, it'd be weird if we didn't get Mario and Link.
And even better, the thing that actually pissed me off, and I'm not even kidding that it pissed me off, is immediately all of the game sites were talking about who are the DLC characters going to be for the Smash game. I'm like, mother effers, the roster isn't even finalized. Why are we talking about freaking DLC?
Plus, the other thing to consider, is there even a guarantee that Sakurai is actually going to be working on it, since he's still...
confirm that, actually. He is working on it.
Okay, well, that torpedoes my point.
Yeah, no. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I forgot to bring it up. Because that's another question that listeners had, is Sakurai involved? Yes, he is. Supposedly, he's kind of involved in the Kirby game, too. But a lot of people have already speculated, because I think Sakurai is solid with Namco now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at that point, a lot of people have gone, okay, does that guarantee Pac-Man? Is Pac-Man going to be a returning character? I don't know.
Probably, all things considered, especially if we have another case where Bandai Namco decides to help with the game's engine like they did with Super Smash 4, 3DS, and Wii U. Given that Sakurai's with Bandai Namco, we may see Pac-Man again. I mean, it'd be nice to maybe see some other Namco characters.
That would be my guess, is you're going to see, so since Ryu did really, really well with the Wii U version, I would not be surprised, or at least I hear he did really well. I didn't follow the sales for it. Considering that Namco owns Tekken and they also own Soul Calibur, I have a feeling you'll get a character like that.
Honestly, I'd probably see more. They may go more the mascot route, where you may get someone like Klonoa, or maybe even someone from the Tails, or maybe even someone from the Tails series. Given that out of the Tails games, the most successful, at least stateside, would be Tales of Symphonia. So for all we know, we could get someone like Lloyd. You know,
we brought up Cosmos. Xenoblade is a popular title on Switch right now.
True. And so there are a lot of possibilities. Knowing Namco, and just given the type of fighter Smash is, they probably would go more for the mascot sort of characters. So ones like Klonoa, ones that are like some of the other arcade games they produced, rather than the Soul Calibur stuff. I mean, unless the demand is like really high, but I can't really think of any character from either Soul Calibur or Tekken that would fit in a Nintendo-style game. But then again, I said the same thing about Cloud Strife, so what do I know?
Well, and I mean, how many people actually expected Ryu of all
Or
things?
Bayonetta.
Yeah. So at that point, like, this is why in a lot of cases I don't care about the DLC characters, because those are the swerves anyway. Let's freaking figure out the roster. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know who's not coming back. I can pretty much guarantee that Mario, Link, Samus, those are coming back. But it would be interesting to see, like, okay, we have the Inklings coming back. Who's going to get eliminated from the Wii U roster to bring this in? And another one that actually people have been speculating is, Nintendo's relationship with Square Enix has been getting a lot better in recent years. Could this be the one that, no, it's not, guys. I'm just going to say, could this be the one that finally gives you Geno?
No, they gave you the costumes for the Mii Fighter. That's all you're going to get. Unless they
remaster that game, no.
I mean, the only other like Square thing I can see them adding is maybe a Chocobo fighter, and even then, that's pushing. Well,
another one that I actually speculated with a friend on is, like, let's just say for the sake of argument, because Kingdom Hearts 3 is set for Xbox, although strangely that's the only game that's set for Xbox. There's already talk of, like, could they bring Kingdom Hearts 3 to the Switch? I don't think they could, just given what they've shown. But let's just say they do. I could see Sora being a DLC character.
Yeah, and Sora would actually be a pretty good fit. It's a family-friendly series. That's kind of what
makes more sense than Cloud.
Yeah, but then again, character demand, and apparently Cloud just gets around in the fighting games. Namco wanted him, Nintendo wanted him, and got him. It's just, but yeah. But
now he's locked to Dissidia, so it ain't happening anymore, guys.
Yeah, so unless maybe something from Crystal Chronicles or something, but point being, the roster's not even finalized. One character I know for a fact we're never going to see in Smash again would be Snake, because, well, Konami is Konami.
No, and for all the people who are screaming Simon Belmont, that ain't happening either.
No!
That ain't happening either.
Yeah, Simon Belmont, Bomberman, none of the Hudson characters.
And considering that Capcom hasn't had too many games coming out for the Switch, I don't know if I can guarantee that we're going to get a Capcom entry. Just because you got Ryu last time, and
you got Mega Man at launch.
Yeah, you got Mega Man at launch, and Mega Man made sense. But I mean, really, look at the Switch. We have Street Fighter remakes happening, and that's pretty much it for Capcom. So yeah, I don't see Capcom making a character for Smash.
Like, I can see maybe,
or at least allowing the rights.
Well, I can maybe not at launch, but maybe doing a similar DLC scenario where they do what they did when they re-released Roy, was a case of, okay, this was a character we've added in the game before that we're bringing back because we know that there was demand for it.
And in that case, I could see them, like, redoing Mega Man in honor of Mega Man 11, but that's it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, main roster game character, not so much. And I'm not even going to speculate on the possible DLC characters, because all of them are indie game characters. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah, and honestly,
as much as I would love to see Shovel Knight in the game, it's probably not happening.
Yeah, like, when you have to consider the types of characters that get added as DLC, these are from companies that they have a great deal of clout, where it's actually mutually beneficial for them to lend their characters. As great as it would be for characters like Shovel Knight or Shantae, they don't have that kind of clout that, say, Square and Capcom do.
No, and frankly, like, if they were going to get added, it would be DLC. It would not be main roster launches, but they would definitely go to the third parties first before they went to the indie developers. Yeah. Unless that game was strictly like that indie game was strictly on Switch, then I could see that maybe happening, but there aren't too many of those.
I mean, unless they decide to put Solar of Astoria into Smash Brothers because of the amiibo being made.
Hope not. In case people can't tell my thoughts, F Dark Souls.
I mean, technically, we do already have a character who praises the sun with the Wii Fit trainer, so, I mean, they could just swap out the models.
Damn it, Romney. Stop justifying this to me.
I mean, somebody's going to make a mod that does that, if they haven't already, of the current Smash game.
Oh, sure. Alex, you've been kind of quiet on this one. So what is your, like, favorite announcement that came out of the Nintendo Direct? Is it Smash, or is there something else?
Probably Smash, because Phantasy Star is not Phantasy Star 2 is not coming over here anytime soon. I've made my peace with that.
I'm pretty sure. I can guarantee you this would happen. If let's just say, for the sake of argument, they announce Phantasy Star Online 2 Switch only, and it's English translated, Alex wouldn't have the money, and he would buy a Switch.
Probably.
He would buy it. He would be begging me right now, please help me pay for this.
Well, yeah, I mean, isn't the Switch region free? So if anything, if they come out with a version for Asian territories with the English translation that's released in Hong Kong, that's actually not out of the realm of possibility.
From what I understand, PSO2 doesn't even have an English translation. So at that point, that's the only thing holding it back. But yeah, this is the same kind of concept where, Dead or Alive wasn't translated here. You can get that here. And I have a feeling there are going to be people who want to try PSO2 and will get it just to say that they have, but those people will probably understand what's going on. So that's really the issue there. I've got to at least say, as much as I've been kind of harping on a lot of the remasters that Nintendo's been announcing, and guys, I'm still where I was. This is kind of the same problem we saw with PlayStation 4 early on when it came out, where a lot of the games that it was advertising were definitive or remastered editions of games that had already come out. The same thing's kind of happening here with Nintendo. The difference being is that some of the stuff actually does, well, I agree with that concept. Some of it actually does make sense, because there were people that were like Romney that bypassed the Wii U and went straight to the Switch and didn't get this stuff. And so Captain Toad is probably something they would enjoy. I actually think Mario Maker's coming to the Switch sooner than you think. Just because a lot of that stuff now is on a popular console, and they want to get those games in people's hands. So, I mean, I'm excited for Captain Toad, but I gotta be honest. The thing I was just ecstatic for was Octopath Traveler, and it has a release date, and I love the collector's edition so much so that I went out and made my pre-order right off the bat. And I also will say Okami caught my eye, because believe it or not, I've never played it. It's one of those games that just has been on the list and couldn't make it work. So I'm going to get it for Switch. Just have fun with it. What about you, Romney or Alex? Were there any other announcements in there aside from Smash that were exciting?
Yeah, Luigi's Mansion also has me interested. I also didn't play it on the GameCube, so maybe I'll give that a try on 3DS.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's probably going to get remade in like the Dark Moon engine, so it's going to be updated, and that'll be awesome.
Well, yeah, it's especially interesting when you consider that Luigi's Mansion, they wanted to make it as a 3D capable game. They even created a 3D display engine for the GameCube. They just couldn't find a way to make it work at the time. So it's kind of a case of, hey, this implements the idea we've always wanted to implement.
Although I'm going to warn you in advance, Alex, if it's an exact port, then those doors you hate so much in Resident Evil? Guess what Nintendo tried to do?
I don't hate the doors, really. I actually like them in Resident Evil, because I think they're nice, effective loading screens, and they kind of build a little suspense.
But guess what Luigi's Mansion tried to do? They actually have that as a loading screen too.
Oh, that's cool.
Or if you can't get in there, then he'll jiggle the lock, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I guess the other thing I want to get into, what was the least awesome announcement, like the stuff that you weren't looking forward to in the Nintendo Direct? I guess if I got to be honest, mine would be, I'm still flabbergasted at South Park making the Switch. I don't see Nintendo not being tyrannical about this. So I don't know how Trey and Matt are going to handle that.
Remember, there was South Park 64, so there's South Park on Nintendo before.
Yeah, but to be fair, South Park 64 didn't have Matt Stone and Trey Parker involved. It was basically just a subpar first-person shooter with a South Park skin. Whereas
Stick of Truth and Fractured Butthole, Trey and Matt are directly part of.
Yeah, but still, I imagine all the plenty salty language and obscene remarks of South Park are alive and true.
64 is not that salty.
I don't know. It's been a long time. I only ever rented it like once or twice from Blockbuster. I just remember those damn turkeys being impossible to pass.
Yeah, go watch some Stick of Truth and you'll realize that there's no difference between Stick of Truth and the series.
Yeah, I'm calling it here. We're gonna get crying toads. If they have to cut stuff out, we're gonna have it replaced with crying toads, like they did the crying
Something like
koalas
that,
and the face palming statues for the other regions. We're gonna get something like that, or if Nintendo
or random
allows,
Nintendo noises for every time they curse.
yeah, or alternately, if Nintendo lets them port the game as is without any changes, they gotta work in some joke making fun of that.
Actually,
I mean, it writes itself.
Actually, you know the idea that just barely came to my mind because Carbon goes on cussing rants now. It actually would be funny if he went on one of his rants and all of a sudden you got the da 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 da, and then he was done with the rant. That'd be awesome. The other thing that I'll just say I'm disappointed in, just because I don't give a crap, is Dark Souls amiibo. I'm not getting it. I don't want this. I didn't want Dark Souls remastered on the Switch. I know that people want it. I don't, and that's kind of my viewpoint on it.
Yeah, and one thing I will say I'm kind of sick of, mainly because I've learned how awful Koei Tecmo is kind of as a company. It's just like, okay, we get it. Hyrule Warriors is a thing. Just please move on. Don't do to Hyrule Warriors what you've done to Dynasty Warriors, Koei Tecmo.
I will also say that adding single player DLC to Splatoon 2 just kind of makes me go, because Splatoon 2, I didn't officially do a review for it, but let's just say I didn't come up with a whole lot to say on the matter. It's just not a whole lot there. And so I looked at this and went, oh, so you're padding onto a game that was kind of meh to begin with.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, given that it's an 80 mission campaign, though, I mean, at least it's like you're getting a sizable expansion. It's not like it's just cosmetic stuff. It's like an 80 mission single player campaign, and so at least there you're getting a decent amount of content.
I guess that's true. All right, final thoughts before we move on into the Razzies and the Oscars.
Nope.
Yep. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on into that concludes the tech portion of the evening. Now we go into the entertainment portion, and over the last couple of weeks, the Razzies and the Oscars have happened, and I'm happy to at least say that there was no incident. And dang it. Okay, there we go. Thankfully, there has been no incident at the Oscars. I don't know. Clarify this for us, Alex. Did we have another incident at the Oscars?
No envelope gate this year.
Okay, no wardrobe malfunctions.
No wardrobe malfunctions. No,
nobody tried to break the crap. What's his name? The crap.
What?
Harvey, the Weinstein statue. Nobody tried to break it.
Well, actually, they did have to take it down because it was raining prior to the show. So the people who put it up actually had to take it down prior to the awards show. So,
yeah.
So, okay, let's go ahead and go into the Razzies first because, well, the Razzies are always a little bit more fun to go into. And it's also a little bit shorter. So, Worst Picture went to the Emoji Movie. Worst Actress went to Tyler Perry for Boo 2, A Medea Halloween. Worst Actor went to Tom Cruise for The Mummy. I'm pretty sure Stephen Romney is going to agree with that.
Yep.
I don't know. I would have given it to Johnny Depp because I heard he literally just had an earpiece and they fed him his lines on set. If that doesn't scream, I am the laziest sack of shit ever.
I can't vouch for Johnny Depp, but I've seen some clips of The Mummy, and Tom was not at his A game.
Yeah.
I'm sure The Mummy was bad, but I'm just like, I don't know what's more offensive than pretty much showing up to set, getting paid to have your lines fed to you.
But then again, I also wouldn't have minded if Mark Wahlberg got it just because frick Transformers. So that's just me. Worst Supporting Actor went to Mel Gibson for Daddy's Home 2. Worst Supporting Actress went to Kim Basinger for 50 Shades Darker. Worst Screen Combo for any two obnoxious emojis from the Emoji Movie. Worst Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel went to 50 Shades Darker. Worst Director went to Tony Leonidas, if I'm saying that right, for the Emoji Movie. Worst Screenplay went to the Emoji Movie, so they pretty much sweeped.
Yep.
And the Razzie contender, So Rotten You Loved It, was Baywatch. Yeah, I can't necessarily fault them for that. I've at least been told that there are some entertaining moments in Baywatch. And look, as much as we make fun of Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I can at least say he has some good comedic timing. So,
And he at least has a good sense of humor about it, where he did post the thing where he humbly accepted the Razzie on his Instagram. So it's kind of a case, he at least knows, he's not afraid to laugh at himself.
I especially love the Hall of Fame where they honored him and he got to have a nice little conversation with John Cena in the audience. Is like, it's okay, John. You know, Doom? Yeah, I did Doom. Nobody ever remembers that. You'll have one like that too. It's like, yes, you probably will. But that's the Razzies for it. I'm kind of happy with where everything kind of ended up. I kind of wish that a few others got more acknowledgement, in particular, either Transformers or 50 Shades Darker, but well, the mummy should have also gotten some acknowledgement too. That was bad.
It was a bad year for movies all around.
Yeah. With a couple of outliers here and there, but yeah, mostly like anything that was being tried brand spanking new didn't work out. So moving on into the Oscars. So we're not going to cover every single award in the Oscars, but we're going to hit the greatest hits, as it were, and give our thoughts on that. And so I guess the first thing that we need to go into is Romney should be excited because Shape of Water walked away with Best Picture.
Amongst many other Oscars. I mean, it pretty much got a
were they pretty much the sweep?
No,
not like a complete.
There really wasn't any clean sweeps. I mean, there were the handful that walked away. There were the couple that walked away, the handful, but overall, everybody was pretty split down the middle. A lot of the big contenders kind of all walked away with something.
Yeah. I can't necessarily say because, well, I didn't watch, but I'm at least happy that the movie that Romney called got Best Picture as opposed to some of the other stuff that got advertised. The only one on this, and I even said it, was Dunkirk. And even then, I don't know if I would have given Dunkirk to the Best Picture award. Best performance by actor in a leading role went to Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour. Well, it's Gary Oldman.
And it's a biopic about, Winston Churchill. It's pretty much, it's Oscar bait if there ever was Oscar bait.
Yeah. Let's see. Best performance by an actress in a leading role. It looks like this is a double because Frances McDormand as well as Sam Rockwell walked away with supporting role for lead actor for supporting role for actor, which is 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. So you got that. Allison Janney walked away with supporting actress for I, Tonya. I'm not happy about that.
Well deserved.
Achievement in directing went to Guillermo del Toro for Shape of Water. So you got that. Original screenplay went to Get Out for Jordan Peele. Actually, I agree with that. Considering I haven't seen it, but considering the accolades that I always say their thing right. Jordan Peele is getting for it. I think it's well deserved. Let's go ahead and skip on down to the one that people want us to start raging about, in particular Alex to start raging about, and that is Best Animation.
Coco.
So, well, first of all, animated short film went to Dear Basketball, and that's pretty cool.
Kobe Bryant is now an Oscar winner.
Yeah,
I still don't believe you, but then I looked it up and
Though to be fair, he's working with Glenn Keane, one of the titans of it, one of the best 2D animators. I'm just like, okay, like Kobe Bryant and then Glenn Keane. Like, there's why he got the Oscar, because he's working with Glenn frickin' Keane. There's your answer.
That's great and all, but my reaction on our Facebook thread, which I'll probably put up, is I put a GIF of a baby rolling over laughing. That's my only reaction. I'm like, wow, Kobe Bryant is an Oscar winner now.
Well, to be fair, at least it's coming from someplace genuine, because the short Dear Basketball was a genuine piece. It was basically a reflective piece about his love of the sport that was at his retirement party. So it's nice to, it made people like, oh yeah, it's an athlete who won an Oscar, but at least it's for something that seems at least genuine.
Yeah. Back into Best Animated Feature Film. So the winner was Coco. So the obligatory Disney pat on the back happened. I'm not necessarily going to say that. I haven't seen Coco, and I know a lot of people who are screaming its praises, but I mean, when you look at the rest that was here, I mean, maybe the breadwinner, I'm looking at the animation for the poster. I haven't seen it, but yeah, I would see that as a contender, but more than likely the only contender to Coco was the Boss Baby. And, Romney at least got his wish. Boss Baby didn't win.
Thank
Yeah,
God for that.
I mean, especially it's a shame considering the achievement that Loving Vincent pulled off, given that it's an animated feature where every single frame is an oil painting. I mean,
That's cool.
yeah, but it just goes to show that the Academy doesn't care about animation whatsoever.
Yep.
No.
And in other news, cows go moo.
Pretty much. In other news, the sky is blue. So yeah, I'm not necessarily going to knock Coco because again, I'm hearing people screaming its praises, but the animation category has just become Disney's proverbial pat on the back for that year. And so at that point, I'm not saying it's not deserved, but I do know that there have been years where it hasn't been. In particular, what was it? What was, Wind Rises contending against? Was it Frozen?
I think Frozen, yeah.
So I mean,
and
at that point, I would Wind Rises, and
that wouldn't be the first example. I mean, when you have a film as amazing as Paranorman losing to Brave, which is just a mediocre princess film from Pixar, it's a case of the nepotism runs rampant.
And look, I know this is my weeaboo-ness talking, but as of course many of my fellow fans would point out, Your Name and A Silent Voice both snubbed hard this year. So I said it before, I'll say it again. You just need to realize anime is going to get snubbed. I know
at the Oscars,
but one can hope. But that's another matter. But it's just like we all had our good laugh though. The fact that it's like, oh, sweet movie about redeeming yourself from bullying somebody you care about. Boss, let's have the Boss Baby.
Yeah, again, Mother's Basement.
That's the thing I'm walking away with is like, I kind of wanted the Boss Baby to win, if for no other reason than to have the impending Twitter explosion that would happen.
I'll be honest.
Yeah, but let's face it, the Mickey Mouse Riot Squad would not allow for that. They probably had their snipers at the ready.
That's surprised me. We don't have the red dot on it. Yeah. Check your foreheads really quick. Do we have the red dot? Okay, good.
But that's why I'm wearing the glasses. If they try to bring in the laser, it'll just bounce back in their eyes.
Yay! Romney thought ahead.
Disney slept on their the one year they took the only time they took a day off was the year Shrek won, and then Disney was like, oh no, we lost to Shrek. We gotta have the Riot Squad on full time now. No vacations for them.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Like we do have a couple of others with the Geek Year Awards. It looks like a good portion of them went to The Shape of Water. And I'm not necessarily seeing any that went outside of that.
Yeah,
let's double check here really quick.
Cinematography went to Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Roger Deakins has been nominated like 14 times, and it was his first win finally.
Wow, for a second there, I was looking through this and I'm like, wait, Your Name won one. And I'm like, no, wait, Call Me by Your Name. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's a different film entirely.
It's a different name.
Design, Phantom Thread, sound mixing went to Dunkirk. I think that's the only. No, they took film editing as well.
Yeah.
Sound
predictable
editing.
War movies usually take a lot of the sound and film editing awards there.
Makeup and hairstyling went to Darkest Hour. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm actually kind of surprised that I, Tonya didn't get a little bit more. I actually was kind of with you guys. I thought that Margot Robbie was going to take it, but nope. No, it went to Frances McDormand because she had the controversial film.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And her speech was equally annoying and condescending.
Yeah.
Well, we will, I won't get there if you don't want me to, because that's going into the politics scene.
Yeah, no. I really don't want to. I don't want to flirt with the issue, but
okay, then let me just leave it at that. Everybody had a political speech to make. It got old fast. My head was hurting by the end of the night. That's where I'll leave it. Anyway,
so that's basically everybody's Oscars experience ever. Everyone has a speech to give.
What you're telling me is that if I was watching the Oscars, my reaction would have been to be every time an award acceptance speech happened, it would be to Uncle Harvey says, "Why don't you go ahead and suck this?" and putting up the picture of the statue again and again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah, or alternately, it's like anytime a winner makes a political speech, take a shot. You'll be drunk. You'll be dead from alcohol poisoning by the halfway point.
You'll either be dead or terminal. If you're terminal, then I'm going to go, what the hell is wrong with you? But there you go. So final thoughts on the Oscars and the Razzies before we move on. I don't have any thoughts. It's the Oscars has become a very much a Hollywood pat yourself on the back ceremony.
Yeah, well, again, it's an industry-wide circle jerk.
Well, still, I'm going to give a little bit of praise just for the fact, well, Shape of Water won. I mean, up against two World War II movies, two World War II, but against two World War II movies, against Get Out in the wake of, well, the last year's Oscars. So
can I just say I'm actually surprised Get Out got nominations. Because somebody looked at the premise of that and went, "Oh, that's horribly racist." I'm so surprised it got nominations to begin with.
Well, to be fair, it may be kind of similar to the reason why 12 Years a Slave got a bunch of awards as well, where it's pretty much. I'm granted, this is not to knock the film itself. It's very much the Academy of, well, we don't want to look racist.
Of course you don't, except you already look a dozen other things, and one of those is ignorant. Period.
Yeah. Though Shape of Water, again, fantasy films, considering how very rarely fantasy, sci-fi, or anything beyond simple character drama ever wins anything. Congratulations, Del Toro.
Another thing that surprised me was the only controversial film that I didn't see a whole lot of these, but Three Billboards was a controversial film from what I understand. I'm kind of surprised it didn't get more nominations and in fact walked away with Best Picture. Kind of thing, or because usually that's what's happened in previous Oscars events is that the controversial film wins.
Yeah, like I said, it was pretty split evenly among a lot of the nominations. Only like a couple ones taking handfuls, like Dunkirk or Shape of Water, really. But it was pretty evenly split compared to some other years where you'll kind of get the big sweeps. Like even La La Land kind of took a lot home last year, and this year it was pretty even. And I haven't seen a lot of these either. I mean, a lot of people were praising. A lot of people really liked Get Out. They said a lot of people really liked that movie.
I was told to see it, but I'm not a big horror buff in the theaters. So, I said I would see it on streaming or whatever, and I still haven't gotten around to it. But part of it is just because I just don't know what it's going to do to a paranoia factor for me. I've heard it's actually pretty graphic.
Yeah, I've wanted to see Shape of Water. I haven't had time to see it, but
yeah, I enjoyed it when I saw it, and so I'm at least happy that it ended up winning Best Picture. It's just, again, I haven't cared about the Oscars in years, so I mean, at the very it's like, okay, it's nice that it's won. I enjoyed the film regardless. It's just,
yeah. All right, moving on into the next story that we have, and this one is. I actually beat the listeners to it, but I knew the listeners were going to come out of nowhere and say, you need to cover this. So the Room director, Tommy Wiseau, has apparently been busy at work. And a lot of people didn't realize this, but Tommy Wiseau has been working on a new project called Scary Love.
Was he going to finally play a vampire like he always wanted?
Oh, it's weirder than that. So Wiseau, apparently with this Scary Love idea, it's said to be a science fiction tale told in the style of classic B movies. And there's also going to be, they've already kind of pointed out that Greg Sestero is going to be co-starring in it. And, where was it? They actually had castings for it where they were going to have a lovable Han Solo bounty hunter character. And the story's been kind of edited down at this point, but yeah, there was going to be it's just basically going to be a sci-fi tale that's going to be like a B movie.
Yeah, looking at the article here, Greg Sestero isn't actually listed as in it. It was just mentioning he's going to reunite for a 2-volume road trip adventure, Best Friends. Yeah, and so I'm looking at the full article IGN is quoting from, which is from The Hollywood Reporter. And so looking at this, it's case it was announced shortly after the release of The Disaster Artist. So naturally he's taking advantage of, oh, hey, people know my name now.
Oh, hi, Romney. So anyway, how's your sex life?
And looking at this, Wiseau isn't actually the director. It was directed by Jennifer Juniper Stratford from the company Telefantasy Studios, So he's involved mainly as a producer for the looks of it, but not actually directing it. So it may actually, look like a film assembled by a human.
It might actually be confidently made. Wow.
Will it borderline as softcore porn? Guys, The Room does an ugly softcore porn.
The question is, do we really want the answer to that question?
No.
We already saw Tommy Wiseau's ass in The Room. We don't need to see it
That's why I'm saying.
We don't need him aiming for the belly button. We already saw that once. We don't need it again. I mean, yeah, it's science fiction, people, but I don't think we need to see that again.
Tommy Wiseau in a codpiece. You're welcome.
Brandon, I really do. If he is going to play a vampire, I think this would be to his advantage here.
You would think that if it's called Scary Love, it would be like that, right? And so the first thing that threw me off about it, I'm like, sci-fi, and you're calling it Scary Love?
Oh yeah, here's a little fun fact. Apparently, it was initially planned as a music video that they decided to expand to a feature film. So, yeah.
Yup. Basically, usual Tommy Wiseau fare, people. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's about as enigmatic as Wiseau himself, because even he doesn't know where he comes from.
And of course, the first thing that listeners brought up was they wanted to bring this to our attention and want to know, are we going to see it?
Maybe, I don't know.
Nope.
I doubt it, because again, knowing that it's an indie film, it's not even a case of, oh, we're just not going to ignore it. It's just a case of there's no guarantee it's actually going to come out here where we live. So,
I'm going to ignore it, but that's just simply because by the time we actually finish the story, I'll have an ADD moment. I'll have forgotten that it even exists.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to go out of my way to see it, to be honest. I thought it was directed. I mean, I thought it was directed by Wiseau, so I had some reservations about that. Not just because, The Room, it's such a bad movie, blah, blah, blah. Just because Wiseau's very aware now the reputation The Room has.
What's worse in your mind? Him directing and having to dictate the shots, or him being the producer and maybe having to try and procure the money?
He has the money. He's a bottomless account. He funded The Room by himself.
Well, but correct me if I'm wrong, because Romney has the actual Hollywood Reporter. He has supporters for this, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's being produced by an actual studio called Telefantasy Studios, but that's also why
it's not him paying. He might be paying a portion, but he had to go out and sell this movie, Alex. That's the thing that should scare you.
Well, then it's okay. Well, it's either people wanting to capitalize on again the cult success of The Room, or it's actually good. Who knows? But my concern, of course, initially was that, Wiseau is very aware that his movie, The Room, is this weird cult hit, and that he was going to try and, literally capitalize off of it by going the intentional, trying to make a so bad it's good movie, which Romney's pointed out before, that doesn't work when you try to intentionally do that.
Yeah, that's a lesson I had to learn, because I had so many stupid people in my high school and college that was what they tried to do, and I actually got roped into one of those crap projects, which is why I'm especially bitter.
What's really sad is I think I know what that project is, but I'll talk to you about it off camera, because the person that you actually kind of advertised, I'm like, wait, I think I met this guy. I think I had him in a class or two, and I'm like, yeah.
Well, the project I'm talking about, it was not made at Slick. This was made at my high school, so I highly doubt you met anyone involved, or if you did, we're probably doing what they're actually good at as opposed to what they aren't. Yeah,
so look, my bottom line on this is, I guess, good on you, Tommy. I'm not seeing it. I wasn't interested in seeing The Room to begin with. I'm not interested in seeing The Disaster Artist. I literally look at your name and go, I can think of a dozen other movies I'd rather go see, including actually living the real life experience of taking a dagger and shoving it in my eyeballs. So, and that's that. And here's the thing, guys. I've seen The Room. I've seen enough of the Nostalgia Critic review to say that I've seen the damn Room.
You've seen the review. I've seen the actual movie, The Room.
Yeah, I've seen more than enough of Tommy Wiseau's ass that I don't need to see the rest. I don't need to see the other side, Alex. I really don't. So
it's a good movie, and you just keep writing it off just because you have this unnatural hatred towards me.
Not a natural hatred towards you.
You won't see the movie with me. You won't play Blue Reflection with me. Why won't you do anything with me?
All right, guys, save it for the therapy. Save it for the therapy session.
I know, right? So sorry, guys. I'm not meaning to cough tonight, but final thoughts before we move on here.
I'll be the therapist.
Yes, I'm just not interested in seeing the movie. Like, especially with ticket prices the way that they are right now. No, I'm not interested in seeing anything that I know for a fact is going to be crap. Kind of thing.
I'd rather. I don't know that I will be able to see it because again, it's indie.
It's indie, yeah,
and they're sketchy about when and where they get released. But I can at least say I'd probably go out and see this sooner than I go see the Emoji Movie or the Mummy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I wish I could substitute that film for the Mummy in my memory.
Just wait, Romney. You and I might actually, we might have to revisit our trauma, or at least your trauma.
Yeah.
Moving on into the next story. So, unfortunately, we're going to hit the sad button now, and the sad button is that I've had to deal with this all week. You guys have no idea, and so I don't even want to talk about it. But Toys R Us has officially announced that they will be closing all their U.S. stores. So I guess there were bankruptcy proceedings happening in the meantime that they thought might be able to save the stores and be able to keep Toys R Us up and running. It's not gonna cut it. So after 70 years of business, Toys R Us is closing its doors. And in fact, is confirmed. You're gonna have to grow up because you're no longer a Toys R Us kid. So I guess my first question here is just thoughts from you guys. Like, do you guys have fond memories of Toys R Us at all? I don't really.
Yeah, I wish I could say I do, but beyond the commercial, I probably went to Toys R Us maybe once, twice, who knows how many times in my life, but it's not like it was never that big of a tradition. I mean, if we wanted toys, well, we'd probably just go to Walmart or something.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same, but I mean, I do have like a couple of memories, like mainly one memory. It was 1 year with my birthday where I went with my dad because we have this holiday tradition, this birthday tradition as kids where the birthday kid would get $100 and they could get whatever toy or toys they wanted. And we would go to Toys R Us. We would basically browse for a while and pick which ones we wanted. But even then, I don't even really remember what I ended up choosing because it was very much one of those, it was just kind of eh. I'd
actually like to reach out to the live chat as well. Do you guys have any fond memories of Toys R Us? Also, sorry, Romney.
Well, yeah, but again, it's kind of one of those things where, like Alex, it's very much, there's the Walmarts, but there were also these other various stores that had the dedicated toy sections. And honestly, in my mind, I'm just like, well, I don't really remember too much of toys specifically because once we found out that video games were a thing, GameStops kind of became the places we would go to. So
yeah. See, I have some good memories of Toys R Us, but the sad reality is that I probably have more bad memories than anything because my best friend, who's basically my brother from another mother, he loved Toys R Us. Like every time, like he wanted to go somewhere with his parents or whatever, and I was with him. It was like first thing he'd always recommend Toys R Us. He wanted to go to Toys R Us. He wanted to see what was going on there, and it got to a point where none of us actually wanted to go with him. And the main reason being is you couldn't get him out. It's actually gotten to a point where even in his adult life, when he wants to go just check it out, you say no to him. And the reason you say no is because once he enters, you'll never get him out.
Does that mean he's gonna like just be one of those people that they're gonna have to like tear the building down around him?
Pretty much. Like as soon as he enters that aisle, it's like you can't get him out. He is so fixed with everything he's looking at. The next, I mean, like he could look over at one figure and then all of a sudden the next one is going to catch his attention, kind of thing. And so at that point, like again, dude, I love you. I'm not mentioning your name, but it got to be such a frustration to get him out of those stores that it actually got to a point where I was actually screaming with his parents going, no. He's like, okay, well then let's go to Target or Walmart. Okay, but not the toy aisle. Why not? Because we'll never get you out. Because you'll sit there for 20 minutes just looking at stuff. And it never ended. So in a lot of cases, like where I do have some good memories of Toys R Us, I mean, I actually got a lot of good anime there for some weird reason. I actually got a couple of games there back in the NES days. But if you've gone to a Toys R Us, or at least to our local Toys R Us recently, they're dirty as crap now. And so, like, I don't even dare. The first thing that happened when the announcement happened is the same friend was like, "Are you going to take your daughter to a Toys R Us just to show her like childhood for you?" And I'm like, no, because I'm afraid she's going to catch 9 different diseases in there.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm looking at one of the related articles in the CNN story, and it actually goes into more detail as to what actually killed Toys R Us. A lot of people think, oh, it's Amazon, but although online shopping was part of it, that wasn't the main reason, and a lot of it actually has to do with that messiness that you're describing. And the messiness,
fact that I also heard they treated their, like, we've given a lot of crap to GameStop, in the past few years of them treating their employees like crap. I hear Toys R Us was 10 times worse.
Yeah, like it says here in this article from CNN Money that the company's biggest problem was that it had billions of dollars in debt, and that debt prevented it from making any investment in their stores, which meant for an unpleasant shopping experience for anyone who dared enter it. Thus, and so again, if you're not making a good experience for people to come to your store, if you're not making them want to come back, aside from the really obsessive people, that's going to doom your business no matter how much money you throw at it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking from the area of like having KB Toys and all that stuff nearby, and when a smaller store, or in the case of Walmart and Target, where a section of your store is much more enticing to go into than Toys R Us, the place where you're supposed to go to get toys. That says something. I mean, like the last time I can't even. When was the last time I went? I got a teddy bear for one of my nieces from there. And I remember going in there just for the heck of it, going to like the action figure aisle. Things were caked in dust. I was like, what the crap is wrong here?
Yeah, I remember that was the last time I went into a Toys R Us, was to get something for my niece as well. And even then it was like stuff. The organization, at least the one I went to, was okay, but it very much was one of those. I have another theory. Now, this is me kind of going into armchair psychology, but it's kind of the case of, okay, you have a store filled with all toys, surrounded on all sides. It's like you're being thrown with a bunch of, like, in the mindset of a kid, so much is being thrown at you that it just becomes white noise. Whereas at a store like Walmart, where, okay, you've got the boring stuff, it suddenly makes the toy section seem much more exciting because you pass all this other boring stuff, and then suddenly that catches your attention, which is another factor to consider when selling toys. I mean, yeah, you could put in a bunch of other really expensive toys in a large toy store and I hope kids will notice. Or if you get it in a section of a larger store where the selection is limited, that suddenly makes it more likely you're going to sell your toy. Because if you get it in a place where more people are going to, that will get the kids' attention, make them throw the tantrum to want to get it. That's going to generate more sales. And it's more stores like Walmart that hobbled Toys R Us than online shopping retailers like Amazon.
And see, for me, like as a kid, the allure would actually be not from the toy aisles, it would be from the electronics. So like I would always love going to the electronics aisles, not only just to see the games, but also seeing the new CDs that were coming out and seeing the new movies. And I just got to say, like the game aisle in Toys R Us from childhood to adulthood has never looked in any way alluring. It actually was confusing in some cases because they had just everything put everywhere. The only time where I would disagree with it is when they decided, like early on when Toys R Us just barely hit locally for us, that they wouldn't have the games out in the store. They would actually have them in the back. You had to give like a little piece of paper, kind of like the way pre-orders work for Walmart and Target now. You'd get a little piece of paper, you say, I want this game, and then they go to the back and get it, kind of thing. That's the only way that the game aisle looked remotely interesting. But then it just became a whole deal of you're grabbing a piece of paper, kind of thing. Like that's not holding the game in your hand, kind of thing. So
Yeah, or even having like the demo kiosks, because I remember at malls with like softwares, etc., and stuff like that, that would get a lot of attention. Is having those demo kiosks so you can try out the games before you buy them.
Well, and the cool part is like your local Walmart or your local Target or Kmart had better looking kiosks than the ones at Toys R Us, and they had more games. I will say the perfect example of the kiosks has never been any of those. Way back when we used to have Incredible Universe, and Incredible Universe's kiosks were amazing. I still like occasionally I see the kiosks for like Sega Saturn on eBay, and I'm just like, I wish I had the money because I would buy this just to say I have it because it looked really, really cool at the time.
Yeah, I remember the GameCube demo disc they gave with those first releases of the GameCube and all those demos. Yeah, I remember even just having fun with some of them. I played that Splinter Cell demo who knows how many times.
Yeah, for me, it was Super Nintendo, like being able to see that Kmart workstation of just like you press a button. And it wasn't even like you got to play as a game, but you got these really cool interactive trailers of upcoming games. And they would update like every couple of months. They would change out the buttons and you get something new. So that was really cool to me. But Toys R Us has never really had that allure to me. I've gone on shopping sprees at Toys R Us, but mainly because I kind of had no choice. My friend would not go anywhere else. So, Alex, your thoughts on Toys R Us shutting down?
Well, we've mentioned, of course, that they had a tremendous amount of debt. This comes from a leveraged buyout they did like years ago, and of course, it was also by Bain Capital. So I think we can confirm it here that Bain Capital is officially the EA of the finance world. They always, because it seems like they buy up a lot of little companies and then they all go bankrupt. Toys R Us, Staples, so many more to count.
Staples is still going. I've got a Staples nearby.
Well, I know the Staples near my house went under and closed. So you may have one of the last few. They may be going the way of Circuit City. If anyone listening to the podcast remembers
the
those
one that
stores.
made me laugh was there was actually like two Staples near me, and the one that made me laugh was it was a Staples right next to an Office Max. So I'm like, so just through some sheer fluke, you weren't able to get what you wanted out of Staples, you could go to Office Max. Why? But okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think Staples is kind of on the way out here because I've seen a lot of those closing up. So, but yeah, again, I want to reiterate yet again, Bain Capital, they are the EA of the finance world. You
take your word for it.
If Bain Capital invests in you, you're probably going to die soon. So there you go.
I guess
you really call it the EA though? Like, do you actually see the Bain Capital people breathing down people's necks?
Probably, because they're an investment firm.
I guess does that make Alex our official Geek News economics analyst now?
I guess so. I mean, for crying out loud, we have a legal advisor now. Now we have an economics advisor, and this is getting more political than I ever imagined that this podcast ever would.
Well, I mean, I could go into the fact that Mitt Romney was once a part of Bain Capital. He's no longer
I'm cutting you off there.
He's no longer. He's been out of the company for quite a while. Yeah. But back on Toys R Us here, back on topic.
Do you have any good memories in Toys R Us?
I really don't. I don't remember going to Toys R Us much at all. You know, I mean, we lived. It's gone now. It's shut down. But we lived up just down the street from a Kmart, and Walmart.
That was the other problem. Is like a lot of our local Toys R Us's were at least 20-minute drives.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we lived like 2 minutes from a Kmart. It's like literally down the street. It's empty now. It's gone. It's shut down, abandoned. Yeah. Walmart maybe a 5-10 minute drive away. Just there was never a big need for my family to ever go to Toys R Us because Walmart and Kmart were just right down the street from us.
Yeah, I strongly remember like taking my wife, your sister, to a Toys R Us and having her just flabbergasted by it. But I don't remember like anything specific about it. Like she just walked in all wide-eyed.
Yeah, I'm sure we went once, twice, a couple times in our lifetimes, but just not very often. That's why I just don't have any Toys R Us memories beyond the catchy commercials. I don't want to grow up. I want to be a Toys R Us kid.
Yeah, the best thing about it was the slogan. Oh, that and the other thing was locally for us, they were the only store that had Power Wheels. So like if you wanted to try out the Power Wheels as a kid, that was where you had to go.
Yeah, like most time, I think the only like Toys R Us thing I remember being excited about, and And the only thing I remember being excited about in a Toys R Us store was back when they had this Jedi like playset thing that had the lightsaber and the Jedi robes, and unlike the other toy lightsabers that were like big in your hands, these ones were actually of a size that felt like an actual weapon. But that may just be my memory messing with me, because that's what it does.
Yeah, well, they did have the collector's lightsabers for a while, but the problem was that the one Toys R Us that I remember that had them, that we had to go every now and then to, there was a Hot Topic that was literally across the street that had them, and they were in better condition than Toys R Us was. So I like every time that, again, same friend, he's like, I want to go down and look at the lightsabers. I'm like, okay, then let's go to Hot Topic. I don't want to go to Hot Topic, but they treat the lightsabers better. It's like, no, they don't. But they were in better, more pristine condition.
Yeah, the Hot Topic, that's a whole separate can of worms. That's a Romney rant for a later episode.
Yes. But yeah, final thoughts on this, because we got to move on. We're running out of time.
Well, I think the way you entered it in is pretty clear. It's time to grow up.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are no longer Toys R Us kids. And my kid will never be a Toys R Us kid. That's good, because I don't want her getting 9 kinds of diseases.
Yeah.
So the final story we have tonight, I think, is as high a note as we can end on, which is for all of those who have been really wanting for that Nicolas Cage Superman movie to ever come out, you're about to get your wish in Teen Titans Go to the movies. So we have officially confirmed that Nicolas Cage, who was supposed to be in the 1998 film Superman Lives, yes, that is a thing, before Alex jumps down my throat and I forget to mention it, he has been confirmed to voice Clark Kent in the upcoming animated feature Teen Titans Go to the movies.
I don't know why. Like, reading this news story, I'm reminded of that Whose Line Is It Anyway like game where it's like the good news and the bad news. Where it's like the good news, Nicolas Cage will get to play Clark Kent in Teen Titans Go to the movies. I'm just like, it's just like I look at that and I'm like, okay, that's actually interesting. Oh.
See, the best part is I don't know if because you recommended this story, right, Alex?
Yes, I did.
And listeners brought it in too. But when I saw this story going out, because I knew it was going to get recommended, I didn't need to put it in there. I love that every outlet was basically, as their headline, putting in Nicolas Cage will finally play Superman. And then when you got into the article, they'd have the subheading in Teen Titans Go to the movies. So it's just like, huh. Nobody wanted to announce that it was for the kooky little Cartoon Network animated show. They just wanted to announce that Nicolas Cage was finally going to play Superman. And even though the fact he isn't playing Superman, he's playing Clark Kent.
Well, yeah,
and from what I understand, there's going to be a distinction in the movie.
Well, yeah, plus it's also a case of, oh yeah, like in this little tiny animated show that Cartoon Network airs non-stop.
Yes, it's. I
mean, that is not an exaggeration. I had a subscription. I had a trial run of PlayStation Vue, and when I looked at the Cartoon Network listing, I'm just like, my God, that is literally all they will show all day, every day.
Oh no, we confirmed it. Like we just occasionally my wife will come down and watch something on cable. I swear we need to get rid of cable because we just don't use it. The only reason we keep it is because occasionally my wife wants to go watch something on Freeform. But we actually confirmed this one day where they had there wasn't even an announced marathon on Cartoon Network. It was just nothing but Teen Titans Go until Adult Swim. Just nothing but Teen Titans Go. Yeah. And in some cases, they literally took the same episode and played them 3 times in a row.
Yeah, it's just...
It's the SpongeBob of Cartoon Network right now.
Yeah, but the difference is SpongeBob at least will try on some occasions.
And at least Nickelodeon doesn't run like 500 hours of SpongeBob. Yeah, SpongeBob does get a lot of playtime, but...
Yeah, before you go there, they did.
Don't you let me finish here.
They did. Yes, I remember seeing a lot of repeats of season 1, my friend.
Which is the good season, by the way. But yes, well, they have marathons, but a typical Nickelodeon afternoon block will be, okay, like SpongeBob will be on from 1 to 2, then it'll be the Loud House, then it'll be some of their other shows that nobody cares about. And so where Cartoon Network will play like 6 hours worth of Teen Titans Go in a row.
No, there have been plenty of times where they've done SpongeBob marathons, and it's been like at the height of Fairly Odd Parents popularity. And I'm just like, why are we watching nothing but SpongeBob when there's Fairly Odd Parents? At least I can digest that show.
Difference between occasional marathon and difference between consistently, which Cartoon Network does, consistently playing it 20 hours a day.
Yes.
Yeah, and looking at the other casting for this Teen Titans Go to the movies, like, oh, pop star Halsey, or however the hell you pronounce that, will voice Wonder Woman, and rapper Lil Yachty will play Green Lantern.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at this, I'm just like, yeah, I think the people working on the show don't care. It's just a case of, we don't want to work on this, but it's the only thing giving us a paycheck. I mean, yeah, sure, Nicolas Cage is Superman. You're not going to let us leave, are you? No, we have to keep making this, don't we?
See, part of this is like me and my wife are already joking, because here's the thing. When we watch the first few episodes of Teen Titans Go, we're like, this is cute. This isn't necessarily the most funny thing I've ever watched, but it's kind of cute. It's got some good DC references. That's cute. But we literally looked at at the poster when we saw it. We're just like, we're not going to pay $13 to see this in theaters, are we? And even she looked at me, and she's more of a fan than I am. And she's like, no, we're not. And so the fact that Nicolas Cage is playing it, like, I'm laughing on the inside. You guys can't even tell. Like, he's going to play Superman, and the irony is no one will see it.
Yeah.
We'll play Superman. Come on, give us your best Nick Cage, Adam.
I want to be a good treasure hunter. I'm good. My skull's on fire, but I'm good.
We'll play Superman finally. Oh.
I mean, if it does lead to a scene where Superman steals the Declaration of Independence, it may be worth it. But that's a
Did you dare say that they're going to have a face off?
If Superman does not fight a giant mechanical spider, I will be disappointed.
What about Superman summoning a giant metal eagle?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Sorcerer's Apprentice was okay.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. Even looking at the premise of the film, I'm just looking at this and I'm just like, okay, I get the
dumb.
Yeah, I mean, literally, Teen Titans looking for a superhero movie director so they can actually basically have a good movie. And I'm just looking at this, I'm just like, is Warner Brothers self-aware all of a sudden?
At this point.
Like, the thing that blows my mind is like Teen Titans Go, and look, we're probably going to get some diehard fans for Teen Titans Go, and that's fine if you like it. But to me, that show has been grasping at straws since probably its first season. I'm not saying that it didn't have good ideas there, but now, like, the thing that made me laugh recently is in one of the various marathons that we've seen, they eventually brought the characters of Young Justice into it. And I know for a fact that Cartoon Network isn't doing anything with it. This was around the time that the announcement happened that Netflix was going to do season 3. And so I'm just like sitting there going, wow, they're really grasping at straws. They want to get the popularity of freaking Young Justice, even though they don't plan on doing anything with Young Justice.
Well, yeah, but the other thing to consider is, like, they try to bank on the popularity of Young Justice while at the same time insulting fans of the original Teen Titans. And not even it's a betrayal. Like, they will literally make episodes that are basically like, stop criticizing a show because it's not like the show you liked. It's just like, then stop insulting your audience repeatedly.
Or I don't know if you've seen this. They'll actually have clips from the show, and they're the dumbest gags ever, but they just decide, okay, yeah, we'll bring in the original series. And I can't help but think, like, that's the biggest troll you could ever do, because what happens if somebody just barely tuned in? They thought they were going to be able to watch some Teen Titans, and then all of a sudden they realize it's Go.
Yeah, it's a show that it's just one of those, I swear, Cartoon Network is trying, like, and there's rumors that the person running Cartoon Network is specifically trying to sabotage the network. But yeah, to get back on topic, like, yeah, Nicolas Cage playing Superman and Teen Titans Go, I'm not going to see it, so I don't really care.
Yeah. That's the biggest irony of this, is he finally gets to play Superman and no one will watch. Yes, I'm not seeing Teen Titans Go either. I looked at that, and the funniest thing was when we saw the poster, it was right next to the My Little Pony movie, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not seeing either one of these. But you have a daughter. No, I'm not seeing it. I'm actually happy to say that she's watched My Little Pony. She doesn't like it.
She'll learn to like it.
I'm saved. I'm saved. No, shut up, you. I'm saved. I don't have to watch it.
Well, it's almost like little girls don't have the same interests as one another. It's almost like they like different things.
I know. It's almost like they're individual people.
Yeah, because I know my niece likes My Little Pony, but she's also a fan of Ruby. If you want to get a weird sense of the tastes that my brother has been infusing in her, it's like, yeah, she likes My Little Pony and she also likes Ruby. If there ever was a weird combination. My
daughter likes the Game Grumps. She hears that. I'm not kidding. She hears that jingle at the beginning of every episode and immediately instant grin on her face. She has to go see what's on the TV.
Okay, then.
I've done a horrible job as a parent because especially when you think of how many episodes start up with Aaron freaking out.
Yeah. Well, again, better than Teen Titans Go.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that my daughter has shunned Dora the Explorer and My Little Pony. She shunned both of those, but I also am disappointed because she shunned Care Bears.
Well, to be fair, can you really blame her given what they did with the new series?
I didn't show her the new series. I showed her an old movie and she didn't like it.
Yeah.
So, no, I tested that series and I went, no, she ain't touching it. She ain't touching it. I'm thoroughly convinced that the joke that I've been making for years, I'm just going to make good on. I'm going to go and get a bunch of DVD seasons and I'm just going to make my own random DVDs and I'm just going to put them in the player and that's going to be Saturday morning cartoons. Just so that I can make sure that my daughter's watching good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the stuff that they are bringing back now on the, well, not officially Saturday morning because they're sidestepping the FCC mandate thing, but they've been making a comeback. I mean, Miraculous Ladybug's decent.
Oh, actually, I forgot. My daughter likes DuckTales, so that's already a good reason to get the Disney one because we're gonna get forced to get it anyway.
Yeah, I guess that's very telling that we immediately go to talk about much better shows when talking about Teen Titans Go. That should tell the listener our opinions of Teen Titans Go when we want to talk about shows we like more.
My thoughts are simple. Cartoon Network, you haven't come up with a decent cartoon idea since frickin' Adventure Time.
Yeah, and even then, that's more due to Fred Rader Studios more than anything. Fred Rader Studios is basically the studio behind the good cartoons.
Actually, no, I'm gonna say SpongeBob days because that's what I'm thoroughly convinced. Adventure Time was Cartoon Network looked at that and went, "We can finally fight SpongeBob," and that's why Adventure Time happened, and therefore we have all of the stuff that followed after that. Well, and yes, I'm including Steven Universe. I've looked into that. I'm not interested.
Well, you want to know the real irony? Adventure Time was initially pitched to Nickelodeon, so it wasn't even a case of we can finally compete SpongeBob. It was more like Nickelodeon passed on this?
Yeah. Oh, no, there's been tons of cartoons that Nickelodeon had either on their Kablam or something like that, and then eventually I saw series everywhere else. The one that blew my mind because I thought it was stupid from the get-go was freaking Angela Anaconda, where Nickelodeon showed that on Kablam. It didn't get anywhere, and then all of a sudden, years later on ABC Family, that series pops up.
It wasn't on Fox first.
It was Fox Family. It was Fox Family
first, and then it moved. It was Fox Family first, and then
the buyout happened.
It moved over to Fox.
Yeah, it wasn't that they moved over. That was on Fox Family, but then when Fox Family was sold to Disney along with Power Rangers and all the other stuff, it became ABC Family, and now it's Freeform.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it hit the cable channel first, and then it went to mainstream Fox.
Right.
Okay. I just remember that weird short they played ahead of the Digimon movie with Angela Anaconda.
Yep. God almighty, that was so weird.
And see, the funniest thing about that is, I saw the pilot that's from Kablam, and I'm just like, this is a horrible series. And then I sat there and scratched my head 5 years later, or a couple of years later, when I saw that come to Fox Family. I'm like, who thought this was a good idea?
Well, you'd be surprised the kind of things that get approved. I mean, there's a lot of shows that we may never see, a lot of movies that we may never see that people pass over for very, very stupid reasons. Like I believe it was the Brad Bird version of The Spirit that we could have gotten. But no, we got the Frank Miller film instead.
Or it wasn't Peter Chung directly, but it was the same inspiration. because he did Aeon Flux, and then you also had Reign the Conqueror in the same kind of animation form. But you also had a Phantom series that was actually pretty good plot-wise. It just didn't look good. And that didn't get any funding.
Yeah, and then, that's just the way the entertainment industry works. You can't control what series gets picked up, what films get picked up. It's really a crapshoot, really. That's what makes studios like Fred Raider awesome. They take the risk. I mean, like, if they tried pitching a Castlevania series back in the day, no one would have done it.
No way. Because remember, I can remember all the pitches that have ever happened for that. All right. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode of Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions. And if people want to be able to reach out to us to talk additional about whether Nickelodeon was better than Cartoon Network or Teen Titans Go can go take a long walk off of a short pier, you can do so by reaching out to us individually, starting first with Stephen Romney of Studio Ghost Utah. How do people reach out to you?
Well, you can always find me here both on YouTube and on Facebook under Studio Ghost Utah. That is my username on both platforms, which I have been uploading my newer videos both to Facebook and to YouTube. And I am also on Twitter at Romney Reviews. I just try to keep this all straight because I was looking up something as the intro started. So yeah, Studio Ghost Utah is my handle on YouTube and on Facebook. I am Romney Reviews on Twitter. As for this week's Romney's recommendation, in honor of the passing of the renowned physicist Stephen Hawking, I'm going to recommend a show that was actually produced by PBS called Genius. It was a show that he hosted. It was a very simple concept where he would have 3 people do a series of science experiments as a means of explaining higher concept scientific principles in terms that anyone could understand. They discuss things like time travel. They discuss things like gravity and various things like that. The episode I saw confronted the idea of whether or not time travel is possible. And so if you wanted to see scientific concepts that you have a hard time understanding, but explained in a way that even lay people can understand, I can't recommend the show highly enough. And that is Genius by Stephen Hawking, available on PBS's website streaming.
All right. And Alex the Shadow Blazer, how do people reach out to you?
Well, you can find me here on YouTube. Shadow Blizzard 3000 is my channel, and I produce anime content here. And if you want to follow me on social media and always be aware of when a new video does go up, or just hear whatever random thought pops into my head for the day, follow me on Twitter at AlexJShort. I also want to give a quick recommendation. I'm sure I've talked about it on the show before. I'm sure I've recommended it before, but just because we had to talk about Nicolas Cage being Superman finally after 2 decades, I'm going to once again recommend the documentary, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. Just it goes behind of what happened in trying to bring Tim Burton's Superman Returns film to life, why it never happened, and everything else in between, and still has my favorite Kevin Smith line, that motherfucker finally got his giant spider.
I'm going to recommend An Evening with Kevin Smith, because the way he explains these things is way more entertaining in my humble estimation.
You haven't seen it.
I have not, but I've seen plenty of stuff with Kevin Smith, and Kevin Smith actually could explain these stories really, really well. I actually wish I could get. I'm a latecomer to the Kevin Smith evenings, and I wish I could get all of the stuff backlogged, but no, you can't. Not anymore. That's so sad. I want to see like some of the earlier stuff, especially with Wild Wild West, because apparently he has really good stories from that. So if people want to reach out to me, the best ways to be able to do so is on my Twitter at Dirac2326. You can reach out to me and ask me about the various stories that we've covered tonight. You can even reach out to me and say, why do you hate Steven Universe so much? Because I do. And so you can do that at Dirac2326 on Twitter. You can also follow my YouTube channel. If you aren't already checking out my content on Facebook, look up facebook.com/DracLP, and you'll get up to the minute or updates on the various reviews that I'm doing. And I'm actually getting ready to return to active schedule as the top 10s for 2017 are getting ready to come out. And yay, I can finally have that monkey off my back, and then I can come back to a regular schedule. And now I'm busy again. So you guys can do that. You can also reach out to the podcast directly. And here's the first place that we ask that you please go to every single time. And that is geekyweek.podomatic.com. That is where our RSS feed is. That is where the podcast is hosted. That is where you can get these episodes when they go up. And I usually try to get these brand new episodes up before Monday morning so you can have them for your Monday morning commute. So you guys can go support us there. That's the best place to be able to do so. You can also submit your stories to geekyweek@gmail.com, as well as your user feedback. And then also, if you want to follow the podcast on social media, you can do so under the exact same heading for either Facebook or for Twitter. And that is Geeky NRO. And you'll get up-to-the-minute information when we're going live, the stories we'll be covering, even some more discussion on what the stories might be, or other additional details that we want to get from you guys. And also, you can follow us on Discord, and you guys can follow the link on my YouTube page as well as on the Draken Shadow YouTube page. It all leads to the GNRO Discord, and you can enjoy the conversations there as well as be able to see the videos as they go up. And that's going to go ahead and do it for us this evening. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for your continued love, patience, support, all of that stuff that you guys give to us. We really do appreciate it. And of course, we'll be back next week for more geek news, reviews, and opinions. So for me, for Alex, and for Romney, we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.